to about 6th or 7th. Here comes Ed Jones. Jones to the outside. Michael Young, he'll clear him into turn number 1.
For the final time, our points leader goes around. Ed Jones just got by Dean Stoneman. Now Stoneman starting to take a look to the inside. Further back, Sorrellis battling with Kellen. So it's Jones. Then it's the machine of Stoneman, and third, Shelby Blackstock to Jake Query for the final time.
Each time that Ed Jones and Dean Stoneman have swapped the lead, the other's gotten it back. Now Stoneman's going to try the outside in turn number 3. Side by side into 3. Ed Jones to the bottom. Dean Stoneman to the top. Jones to the bottom line. Nick Yeoman coming at you out of turn number 4.
It may be another one of those thrilling Freedom 100 finishes. Side by side, Ed Jones, Dean Stoneman to the outside. They'll drag race. Stoneman gets him at the line. Stoneman grabs the win of the Freedom 100 by inches over Ed Jones as they go side by side across the yard of bricks.
Stay tuned for more on IndyCar Radio. The Verizon IndyCar Series on IndyCar Radio.
Green flag flies and we are underway in Mid-Ohio. Bourdais Newgarden with a drag race in turn number 4. Tony Kanaan tries to get to the inside and he spins. Tony Kanaan gets spun around and gets off in the dirt. Several cars working hard to try to avoid Tony Kanaan. We have a local caution in turn number 4.
Bourdais tries to close in now at the bottom of the keyhole on those fresher reds. Sebastian Bourdais stalking in on Ryan Hunter-Reay. Hunter-Reay trying to hold him up through 3.
Leaders at the start-finish line, or I should say the starting line. It's a side-by-side drag race. Hunter-Reay to the inside. The high side is Sebastian Bourdais. Bourdais will grab the spot into turn number 4.
Joseph Newgarden hits his marks, although there was already, the jack came down. This is going to be a costly stop for Joseph Newgarden.
This is IndyCar Radio on the IMS Radio Network.
Yeah, we're getting ready for Graham Rahal, guys. We've got a bunch of them coming in right here. The big key right now getting in and out because, as you said, those guys that came in earlier were able to pick up a bunch of positions. As we get the leaders going by us right now, we'll send it down to Nick Yeoman in a second as Will Power gets set to come right in. Graham Rahal diving into his pits right now. He goes from reds to a fresh set of blacks. Looks like a good stop for Rahal. Let's go down to Nick Yeoman.
Yeah, it's Will Power who came off the lead. He received first off of pit lane. Ryan Hunter-Reay a second. Well, right at pit exit, Marco Andretti drove up the racetrack right into the side of Sebastian Bourdais. There is debris littered all over pit exit. Sebastian Bourdais upset.
Back to green flag racing, side by side across the start finish line. Jake Query, they head to UNY.
Alex Tagliani had a podium here in 2006, but right now he's going to lose the lead to Ryan Briscoe. Briscoe to the inside of the 77 through 1.
Holy cow, baby. Everybody attacking as Ryan Briscoe makes the move underneath, but we've got 10, 12 cars right there in the bunch. Ryan Hunter-Reay grabs P2 from Alex Tagliani. He got to the inside, coming down Seaside Way. Climbed on the binders a little later. Oh, and how about turn number 1, Jake Query?
Will Power has moved past Alex Tagliani, so Will Power now sets his sights. Ryan Briscoe, though, building himself a healthy lead out front.
The Verizon IndyCar Series on IndyCar Radio. the streets of Long Beach. This is the Verizon IndyCar Series on the Advance Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network.
Well, despite what the song says, it does indeed rain in Southern California. Good news is it's long gone. Overnight showers fell on this historic facility in Long Beach, California. So unimpeded, preparations continue for the 43rd Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. Hello, everyone. I'm Mark Janes. Happy to have you with us for practice session number 3 in preparation for Sunday's race. A couple of pretty good sessions yesterday, and when the dust had settled, Will Power was P1. No surprise. He has 3 poles here, 09, 2010, and 2011. So Will Power, we understand his mom is here, seeing him race for just the second time. Will swears that she's here to see her new grandson. Maybe we'll talk more about that, maybe get a chance to catch up with Mom sometime over the course of the weekend. We've got some help here today. Let's start, first of all, getting an update on conditions from Nick Yeoman on pit road. Hello, Nick.
Good morning, Mark Janes. Happy to join you down here on pit lane here in Long Beach, California, as practice number 3 is underway. As for those conditions, pretty nice. We had some overnight showers. Grounds here around the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach still drying out, but the weather looking pretty nice. 62 degrees Fahrenheit right now. That's the ambient air temperature. Track temperature up around 91 degrees. As of right now, Mark, I got 20 of the 21 drivers having race cars on pit lane. Dave, first, you're back in the IndyCar paddock keeping an eye on one car that has not made it out yet for practice.
Yeah, I tell you, it's been an interesting weekend for Chip Ganassi Racing. Scott Dixon in that number 9 machine, liveried up with the blue and white NTT data colors this weekend. Scott Dixon's been pretty good, as you might expect a former champion to be here on the streets of Long Beach, but the other 3 cars on that 4-car team, Tony Kanaan, Charlie Kimball, and Max Chilton, they've been dealing with a number of issues. Chilton with some electronic issues yesterday. Charlie Kimball dealing with some balance issues on that number 83 Honda. But Tony Kanaan, they changed out the ECU this morning. They're still dealing with some electronic gremlins in the number 10 machine, so they missed the start of practice here so far. Talked to Barry Wanzer, though. They expect to be out in the next 15, 20 minutes or so we expect to see Tony Kanaan here momentarily, but the guy is already hard at work on this Saturday morning at Long Beach.
As we mentioned, Power was P1 after the results of the combined sessions yesterday. Marco, Pagano, Takuma Sato, and Ryan Hunter-Reay, the top 5. Happy to have with us this weekend in the broadcast booth. He'll be with us in various capacities today and tomorrow. The latest entry into the 101st running of the Indianapolis 500, and a member of this radio network. Good morning, Zach. Anything new to talk about? I mean,
Well, I'm going to be busy. I'm sorry, I have to say I can't help you guys out during the Indianapolis 500 this year because I'll be pretty busy for about 3 hours. But, I'm very excited to announce that I'll be running in the 101st Indianapolis 500 with AJ Foyt Racing and Indy Women in Tech Championship presented by Guggenheim. So, we worked so hard to get here to finally have this opportunity. It's like a weight off my shoulders, but a whole other one added to it at the same time.
Well, for the benefit of your sponsor, let's tell the folks a little bit about them.
Well, with Women Indy in Tech, it's part of a foundation that's helping, women get opportunities in robotics and STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So one part of the championship is the LPGA is actually coming and playing at the Brickyard September 4th through the 10th. So part of the sponsorships to help advertise the LPGA, the tournament that's coming to Indianapolis, as well as help women, have opportunities for brighter futures in robotics and STEM. So it's something I'm very proud to be a part of because I've always had, organizations that are trying to help better the world, and I think I couldn't have found a better one to partner with in the Indianapolis 500.
And for your first start, a legendary race team for sure, AJ Foyt Racing.
Well, I was a little nervous to meet AJ for the first time because you hear this reputation that he has, and then, you meet him, and he's a really nice guy. And I think, the Indianapolis 500 is such a big deal for young American drivers. That's what we all dream about. And to be able to go into that race with such a great American team like the name Foyt is something very special to me, and it's one step closer to trying to make Veach a historic name as Indianapolis. So we just have to have a good week of practice, learn as much as I can, be patient through the race, and be there when it counts at the end.
We want to get your thoughts and impressions of this course since you just came out of the two-seater. We'll do that in just a moment.
Yep.
Nick, they call this segue in the business. We're talking about a recent graduate of the Indy Lights Series who is now going to realize his dream of driving in the Verizon IndyCar Series and the Indianapolis 500. You're standing by on pit road, Nick Yeoman, with a couple of guys that hope to do that very same thing.
Yeah, that is a couple of our Indy Lights drivers down here. A couple of California kids, Colton Herta and Neil Alberico down here on pit lane. We'll start with Colton Herta, just turned 17 years old, one of the big winners at St. Petersburg. This is pretty cool, though, being down here on pit lane at Long Beach. Your thoughts on this event and this race weekend?
Oh, it's awesome. Obviously, it's like a home race to me. I live 45 minutes north of here, and yeah, what an event. It's right downtown, right by the water, and yeah, it puts on a good show.
Certainly for you and for Neil and all for the guys up and down pit lane, a big goal is to race in the Indianapolis 500. How big would it, though, to be to race in this race at one day?
This is probably the second best one for me because you can see all my family comes down here, all my friends, and yeah, it'd mean a ton to be able to race in this one day.
Neil Alberico's in his second season with the Indy Lights Series, and nice weekend at St. Petersburg, really bouncing back and running strong with that Carlin Racing team. Your thoughts on racing out here in California?
Yeah, absolutely. Long Beach is like the home Grand Prix for all of us Southern California guys. So, yeah, hopefully we'll get to come back next year with lights or just make it to IndyCar.
Up next for the Indy Lights Series is a race in Barber Motorsports Park. Obviously, everyone really enjoys going down to that place, almost like a golf course when you get on the grounds down there in Barber. You got a chance to race there last year. Your impressions of that racetrack and how excited you are to get back in a race car?
Yeah, Barber is a beautiful facility. We're actually testing there on Monday, so I'm going to miss the race tomorrow. So I got to get on a plane and get back east and do some testing, get ready for that. It's going to be our next Indy Lights race.
Got a red flag on the track right now with Sebastian Bourdais, the winner of the IndyCar Series at St. Petersburg. Looks like he might have nosed it into the tires or spun out near the fountain, joined by a couple of our Indy Lights drivers, Colton Herta and Neil Alberico. Colton, how close are you guys? Because I know when you get on the racetrack, you're fierce competitors, but what's the paddock like for Indy Lights? You guys all pretty friendly?
Yeah, no, it's all fun and games, but then once we put the helmets on, it's all serious. But, you know, everybody's really nice around the Indy Lights paddock, so, yeah, we're good friends.
Everyone's good friends, but, Neil, you can talk about this, the talent level in Indy Lights. I mean, it is tough just to get in the top 5 in these races because that's really a stacked field here in 2017.
For sure, yeah, the talent's deep. You got a lot of really good drivers, and like you said, I mean, these guys are all, you got to be respectful, you know, we fierce competitors, but at the same time, like, these are the same guys I'm probably going to be racing against the rest of my career, so to develop a relationship with everybody, and, you know, it is dangerous, you know, you don't want to be side by side with some guy you absolutely hate going 200 miles an hour, so it's a lot of fun.
Well, guys, enjoy the rest of the weekend. We'll see you in Barber Motorsports Park, and enjoy the rest of the weekend. Colton Herta and Neil Alberico mark a couple of the Indy Lights drivers, and certainly both very talented. We may see them in the Verizon IndyCar Series and in the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach very soon.
Yeah, good stuff. Thanks, Nick. And again, that red flag situation, the 18 of Sebastian Bourdais, the St. Petersburg winner, might have just kind of messed up the left front of that wing assembly. And Zach, to be honest with you, that turn 2 area, that's an odd place to spin. We haven't seen that.
I think a lot of it just comes down to conditions that we have. You know, we got a lot of rain overnight, so the track greened up a little bit. But the thing that we have is with that fountain, you know, we have some soil, so some dust gets on the track there. So when it rains, that dust turns to, you know, mud and kind of dirt. And even this morning, turn 2's been very slippery, even in the two-seater. So I'm wondering if Bourdais just got in there a little quick and got up on that curbing where it is pretty dirty, and that was enough to put him into the tires, because it looks like he just got that left front end plate on his front wing into the tires, and certainly repairable. He needs to go back to pit lane, get a new nose now, but, you know, that'll be an easy fix for him once practice ends.
Just 9 of the 21 have taken to the track so far in this session. How about the job that Dale Corn Racing did at St. Petersburg? Both cars in the top 10. What a ride by Ed Jones out of the gate.
No, I mean, I have to say great job to both those guys, especially, you know, Ed being in his first Verizon IndyCar race, and you look at the changes that Delcoin made over the winter, with Sebastian going to that team. It was kind of an upset to beginning with, and they've gotten so many good people over the winter. Dale takes this as serious as anybody. He wants to win, and I think he's got the right people to do it now. So, I think we're going to continue to see them pushing towards the front all year, and that's good to see. You want everybody up at the front, and it's good to see them, up there again.
Been around this facility in an Indy Lights car and a pace car, also a two-seater. So most recently in the two-seater. So tell us about this 11-turn circuit here at Long Beach.
Well, this is second to the Indianapolis 500, of course. I always like to say this is the Indy 500 of street courses and the one race that you always want to win. I was fortunate enough to have my first street car pole here and back in 2014, and the thing that's fun about it, it's so fast and so flowing that to be quick here, you have to just be in the moment and really throw the car through the corners. And, one small error is going to take off a corner of a race car. So I like this place because it keeps you on your toes, and you have to be 100% committed to be quick.
How about so they did some reef paving here since we've been here last?
Yeah, they've really improved the whole backside of the track, from that turn 8 up to setting yourself up for 9, 10, and 11. It's really made it easier to kind of get out of that corner, and I think it's going to have us some better passing opportunities once the race comes, because it's just going to be easier to get to power for these guys.
Now, I don't know if you felt this in the two-seater or not, but Graham Rahal, Will Power, quoted yesterday after the practice sessions as saying, while that paving is certainly is an improvement, what it's created is a bit of a bump on the approach to turn number 9, and it's actually in the braking zone, and I think Marco made that comment as well, so that's created a bit of an adjustment period.
And I think that's something that we just have with these street courses. I think we found that at St. Petersburg too, right? We tried to fix something, and we made a bump that altered the course a little bit. So it's a give and take to see how much you can improve without, hurting anything. But that's a characteristic of Long Beach. This place has always been very bumpy. There's big bumps in turn 4s, turn 5. So I think it just adds more character to this track. And I think that's what sets us aside from the European tracks that they have. Because over here, you not only have to run through the bumps, you got to figure out how to be fast through the bumps.
Those comments, by the way, came from the Press Telegram, the Long Beach newspaper. They do a phenomenal job of covering this historic event each and every year. So, again, 9 drivers have taken to the course. Rahal, Rossi, Sato, Chilton, and Kimball, your top 5. Piggott, Daly, Hildebrand, and Jones. First time we've had the chance to talk to you about the new format, Zach. You remember a year ago, sometimes 70-minute, hour-and-a-half sessions, and now they've pared them down to 2 45-minute sessions. The weekend schedule's pretty much the same, and bit of a surprise, I think, that we've only had 9 takers so far, because there's just not as much time as there used to be preparing for an event.
Yeah, you would think people would try to use every minute they can, especially with the rain that we had overnight, but I can see that from a team's perspective of letting these first cars go out, these 9, try to rubber the track back into where it was at the end of practice yesterday before you really go out there, because the track is a little dirtier, it's greener, like I said, because of the rain, so you don't want to go out there and throw your car completely away chasing the track that's going to be 10 times better when we go to qualify this afternoon.
We have asked you in the past the place that you want to try to be the best at. Every course has a signature one, and I don't think your mind's changed much. If you can carry momentum through that hairpin and get back into the throttle quickly off turn number 11, you've got a long straightaway that can maintain a lot of momentum.
That's the game changer. Turn 11 is really the one place where you can make something happen if the car in front of you doesn't make a mistake. Everywhere else around this track, you're relying on the driver in front of you to kind of give you that opportunity by messing up. But if you have a good mechanical car off turn 11 and you can get to the power strongly, that does set you up to pass into turn 1. But as we talked before about the bumps, you have to do some laps on the inside of turn 1 in practice, so you're not thrown off by a surprise bump in the race that makes you lock up your brakes.
Now, we that covered it on a regular basis, we know you have some maybe not fond but interesting memories of turn number 1 here at Long Beach and Indy Lights. They're not fond memories for us, certainly, but what makes that so tough? Is it because practice is at such a premium that you're going to roll the dice if you see the slightest little opening into turn 1?
I think so, and because of that, it all comes down to how you start the race. And because the straightaways are so long here, you want to qualify up front so you can trim the car out so you have that straightaway speed to stay up front. So I think it comes down to everybody's gone in there with lower downforce levels than they've ran all weekend, and you get such a big draft because you're coming off turn 11 so slow, and it is such a long straightaway that you get to turn 1 and it invites you. You feel like you have to make something happen, and sometimes, as we know here in St. Petersburg, turn 1's a lot tighter than the straightaway, and it invites the young guys especially to throw it in there when there's really no room when it comes push to shove.
We are 15 minutes into this 45-minute session, the final tune-up before we get set to go qualifying a little bit later on today. It's essentially turned into an all-skate. 19 of the 21 cars entered are now out onto the course or have at least taken a lap. Graham Rahal has moved to P1. Rossi, Hunter-Ray, Newgarden, Takuma Sato, the top 5 here on the streets of Long Beach.
You can't take a 700 horsepower IndyCar out on the road, but you can take the tires. The new Firehawk high-performance tires from Firestone are built with racing-inspired technology and have better wet and dry handling than ever before. Now the only thing missing is a pit crew.
Hi, Dad.
Well, that's a start. Find your perfect Firehawk performance tire at your local Firestone retailer. Whatever you drive a Firestone.
When you first hear it, you move to the edge of your seat. Then it starts. You begin to feel your heart in your throat, and the speed causes an unfamiliar surge of adrenaline. The fastest drivers in the world, Castroneves, Andretti, Rahal, Hinchcliffe, are coming to Barber Motorsports Park April 21st through 23rd. This is the Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama, presented by America's First. And this is the Indy Experience. Purchase your tickets today at barberracingevents.com.
Final tune-up continues here in the streets of Long Beach. Getting ready for qualifying later this afternoon. Practice that began about 15 minutes ago. We're still waiting to see the number 10 NTT data. Honda of Tony Kanaan out on the race course back here in the garage area. Dave First, joined by Barry Wanzer, of course, helps call the shots. Has done so for a long, long time here. What gremlins are you dealing with here, Barry?
Well, unexpectedly, we had an electrical short that we found this morning. We've kind of been chasing it now for about an hour and a half. We've changed a lot of stuff on the car. We finally have located the source of the problem. Car's going back together now, and like you say, we should be able to get a couple runs here at the end of the session. And with the NTT data, Honda, it's been a trying morning, but I think we got it resolved.
I was going to say, if something like this happens, no better crew than the Chip Ganassi guys. I mean, we've got a couple of Kimball's guys over there. They're pouring over the car, trying to get out there, 28 minutes remaining in this practice session.
Yeah, whenever we have a problem, being a big team certainly helps. We definitely rely on our most experienced guys to help us resolve the issues, and that's what you see happening here.
A lot of people have applauded the shorter practice sessions this season in IndyCar. Just 45 minutes cut way down from previous years, which is good if your car's good, not so good if you need some track time.
Yeah, certainly a short session right now is kind of hurting us, but timing's everything. But we're confident we'll be okay. We'll get it done, and we'll be able to get a run in and then be ready for qualifying later.
Charlie's been chasing it a little bit, so is Max. Scott Dixon, though, former champion here at Long Beach, he looks like he's good to go this weekend.
Yeah, I think Scott's definitely confident. I know we made some changes on Charlie's car and Max's car overnight to try to help them, and there were changes made on Tony's car as well. None of them electrical, but those changes happened this morning.
And now the electrical part of it. That's just the hard part. When you've got a glitch somewhere, locating where that is can be oh so difficult.
Yeah, mechanical problems are certainly easier to diagnose, but electrical are much harder. There's a lot of sophisticated systems on the cars which make them the Indy cars that they are today, which is really awesome. But when you have these problems, it's definitely difficult to figure it out.
When the computers come out, it's going to be really difficult to find what's going on. So.
Yeah, it can be challenging for sure.
All right, we'll be watching. Good luck the rest of the day.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.
Barry Wanzer, of course, calls the shots and been a long-time member of the Chip Ganassi racing team. They continue to pour over this car, and time's ticking here, Mark Janes. Just over 25 minutes remaining in this practice session.
Simon Pagano has gone to P1 now. Rossi is P2. Hunter-Ray, Graham Rahal, fourth quick. Marco Andretti completes the top 5. Learned yesterday, just looking at simple numbers, Zach, hard to believe that with all the success that the Rahal family has had in racing, between Graham and Bobby, they have no wins here at Long Beach.
Oh, wow, I didn't realize that at all. I mean, you look back at the history of winners at the Long Beach Grand Prix, and, you have the Andretti's, everybody else that this has been one of those places that, if they've had a strong career, there's always a win check mark here at Long Beach. So it's really surprised. I thought Bobby would have had at least, 1 or 2 wins here. And, Graham, he's still got plenty of time to check that off, and maybe he's going to check that off tomorrow.
Allinger Jr., 6 wins here. At one point, he won 4 straight from 88 to 91. Oh, wow. Sebastian Bourdais, he won 3 straight, 05, 06, and 07. Team wins, Newman Haas, Ganassi, and Penske, all tied with 6 wins apiece. Will Power in some pretty good company in terms of poles here, Zach. Will, as we mentioned, a 3-time pole sitter here. He joins Mario, Michael, and Gilles de Ferran as 3-time pole sitters.
See, I find that no surprise. I think out of the entire IndyCar field, when we come down to raw speed, the fastest single lap driver, I think, Will Power is definitely at the top of that list, because he always pulls out some miracle for pole, whether it's at St. Petersburg here. Seems to like, if the bumpier the better. When it comes to really manhandling the car, Power's always on top of it.
Yeah, he's had a few pulls in his career so far, and he's just a master at it. So while Dave first was talking to Barry Wanzer, and during the commercial break, we had an opportunity to see some live action on the multi-screen monitor and even some replays. Explain the issues with the rear grip in certain portions of the racetrack. Is just a byproduct of the rain that we had that washed the rubber off?
I think that plays a big part in it. We saw Newgarden coming out of turn 4, slightly rush his rear pod onto the wall, and Marco coming off the hairpin, he was definitely struggling to get the power down. And I think a lot of that does just come from, the rain, because a lot of the heavy rubber is going to stay when it rains, so, the brake zones and the apex, but when it does rain, you're going to lose that last bit of traction out of the corner. So I think that's what the guys are really fighting with right now. And another thing that they're going to have to overcome is all the drifters ran last night. So that whole section, the last 3 corners leading up to the hairpin, is going to be covered in completely different rubber that we're going to have to put Firestones back over top of. And that'll take some time until qualifying.
The last couple of race weekends for the opener at St. Pete, and then again here at Long Beach, we've gotten in town plenty early, gotten to the facility, and we've witnessed the track walk. Explain the benefits of that, what that process is on a Thursday for essentially for drivers and engineers, and what you glean out of the track walk, which means you're literally walking the racetrack.
It really helps to have a strong engineering team, somebody that went through your notes the previous year and wrote down what you needed to do to be better. So when you go on this track walk, really it's a refresher for your mind and just to see what's changed, to see if anything looks different at all, if there's new bumps, new curbing anywhere. I think we have some new curbing in turn 5 here. And as a team, you just walk the track and you talk about, well, you struggled here, this is what we need to work on this weekend, and vice versa. And it really just lets you have a slow mental approach to what you need to do before you're going around this track at 180 miles an hour.
Will Power stands P8. Let's get an update on his 3rd practice session of the weekend.
Yeah, the 2008 and 2012 winner of the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach has been on and off pit lane a couple times. They actually just changed the front wing on that Horizon Chevrolet for Will Power. He showed some really good speed yesterday. In the second practice session, everybody put on the alternate sidewalled red tires, and Power went to P1. He needs a good bounce-back weekend here in Long Beach, Mark. Of course, they had a lot of issues in St. Petersburg, buried him towards the back of the field, and they had a lot of issues. Now, it's not as big of a hole as he dug out of last year when he missed the race due to illness, but still, for Will Power and that Verizon team looking for a bounce-back weekend. As I mentioned, they changed the front wing on that Verizon Chevrolet just moments ago. Power left pit lane, now back out on the racetrack in practice, Mark.
You mentioned something about the curbing, Zach. Is this some venues you want to avoid the curbing at all costs because of the way it's designed? It upsets the balance of the racetrack, and that's what it's designed to do, to discourage drivers from getting that wide, typically upon exit. But at some places, the curbing is as much a part of the racetrack as any of the asphalt. Where does this one fall?
And I think this Long Beach particularly falls into a category of curbing that you can use, especially in IndyCar. We're getting a slow shot of, the number 7 Schmidt-Peterson mobile here, and, we can see that these guys are running over top the curbing because they have that extra downforce. The car is so heavy, they can run over the curbing here, and it doesn't upset it too much. But let's take it back to when we raced Indy Lights here. We have, a quarter of the downforce these things have, and we don't weigh as much. So when we would touch the curbing, it would really launch the car off the corner and, make it easy to hit the wall on the exit. So it all comes down to the weight of the car and how much downforce you have. And these Indy cars, they can really abuse the cars because they're putting out some numbers like 5,000 pounds.
This replay shows that right front is fully locked. Does that pretty much trash that tire?
Well, it depends how long he did it. The slow-mo there looks like he was on it a long time, and we can see the flat spot even in the slow-mo video, and it looks like he flat spotted all the way down to the cord. So he's going to want to come into pit lane and get a new set of Firestone tires because that thing will make a pretty nasty vibration the rest of the session.
And that's what we referred to, again, those comments in the press telegram here locally, some of the post-practice, post-session comments yesterday. Some of the drivers had been talking about how bumpy that was upon entrance, and they said the tricky part is it's right in the braking zone, and I guess, but as they say, it's the same for everybody.
Well, yeah, of course, but, having bumps in the brake zone make it so difficult because, when you're getting onto the brake press or brake pedal as hard as we do in an Indy car, you want it to be perfectly smooth so you can load it, efficiently. But as you see here, we're braking so hard, if that tire comes off the ground because of a bump, it's going to lock instantly, and then when it comes back down to the racetrack, it's going to stay locked because the brakes are so good in this thing. And when it comes back down, that's when we get that locking. And as a driver, you have to be able to come off the pedal quickly to get it rolling again, and then reapply the brake pedal.
Got about 20 minutes remaining in this final session before we get set to go qualifying at 3:25 Pacific, 6:25 Eastern. The rest of the schedule, by the way, this weekend. Final warm-up session is at 9 a.m. Pacific time tomorrow. That, of course, is noon Eastern, and then flag-to-flag coverage of race day at 1 Pacific, 4 Eastern. So I think you're donning your driver's suit tomorrow, but you're working with us on pit road tomorrow.
No, it's something I've been looking forward to for a while. I think we talked a couple of months ago to button things out that I'll be here in pit lane with you guys. And, it's exciting for me because it's so intense. We got guys that are in pit lane now that are, professionals. And I'm trying to get to that point. But, when I'm down there, I'm trying to, understand what the right thing to do, the right thing to say. And the fortunate thing is, as I've been trying to get this IndyCar ride, I've gotten to talk with a lot of IndyCar teams and meet a lot of team members. So this year I'm really excited, especially to be down there just to, be able to talk with people that I've already met and ask them questions I know I'm going to get good feedback from.
Well, now, you made your pit road debut here 1 year ago, didn't you?
Yes, this was the first time. So, it was a little like jumping in the deep end of the pool, but I've had a lot of time to think about it now. So I'm excited to be down there for qualifying this afternoon and certainly the race tomorrow morning.
Well, we're happy the other three people we asked turned us down and that you were available
well,
once we got to
I see how it is,
No, we're thrilled to have you with us for sure, and especially on such a meaningful weekend. J.R. Hildebrand again, taking a look at that 21 car. You couldn't have slipped a credit card between the left side and that outside retaining
wall. And
wall.
Hildebrand is trying to find every bit of speed on this racetrack as he can. He finds himself in the 15th spot right now, but as you said, Mark, as he broke into that corner, you couldn't put a piece of paper from there. I think even we see the body work. It's got a little slight markings on it just from these concrete walls. No damage, but he's definitely close to it.
Well, we talked to his owner, Ed Carpenter, yesterday, and he'll be his teammate from time to time for sure. And they were pretty happy with that car. He finished inside the top 10. We had JR with us a couple of times last year. He joined us in the booth, for instance, at Road America, and happy to see him get this full-time ride once Joseph Newgarden moved on to Penske. And I would imagine that he felt very comfortable very quickly having the experience that he had with Ed Carpenter racing.
Yeah, I think it definitely helps from a team aspect, working with people that you're familiar with. But, I think a lot of people are saying, well, we thought, he'd be up to speed quicker, but we got to think about, how big of a transition it is just to step into these Indy cars. And it just goes to show you how tough the Verizon IndyCar Series is nowadays. That even if you're a veteran with a lot of experience, we saw the same thing with Montoya even, it's when you come back into the series, it takes a half a year to a year to really figure out what you can do with this race car. And I think that makes it equally as difficult for veterans and rookies alike because it is its own race car. And the only way to be quick in it is just to have a lot of laps and figure out what you need to do to be fast.
So to that end, once the dust settles on this weekend and you head back to central Indiana, What can Zach Veach do to begin to prepare himself for running the Indianapolis 500?
Well, of course, training's played a big part in it. We're working out with St. Vincent's Sports Performance, so, 5 days a week there and then a day on my own on the weekends. And that's going to be not too big of a concern for me. With the Indy 500, I feel, I'm in exceptional shape for that because that race is more mental than anything. So what I can do to best prepare myself is just working with my engineer. I can't exactly say who's going to be working on my car yet, but the guy that we do have, I'm extremely excited. He's got a lot of experience there. He's made it to victory lane at Indy, so I'm hoping we can repeat that. And it's just nice to have that experience because he's telling me everything I need to do come race day, showing me videos of what to do, what not to do. Because the toughest thing for Zach Veach is going to be, how to race that car in dirty air. Because it's not an Indy Lights car where you can go too wide. You really have to set yourself up to pass and really have to try to find clean air. So that's all I'm thinking about. And all we're going to be focused on through practice is making the best race car we can because that's all that matters.
Teammates aren't much older than you. Teammates nonetheless. They do have experience in Indianapolis. One of them, in fact, has finished runner-up a couple of times. That's a huge benefit.
Well, I saw this tweet yesterday that was pretty funny, and it was, if you combine Daly's age, Munoz's age, and my age, we're still 10 years younger than AJ. So we have a team of young guys, which is good because, we're all hungry when we want to go out there and prove ourselves. And I worked with Munoz back in my first year of Indy Lights, and he was a phenomenal teacher for me, especially at Indy. And he's the one that set me up to almost win the title in 2014. So definitely looking forward to getting back and working with him and his manager, Santi.
A guy that's been hanging around the top 10 all weekend currently finds himself P1. We're talking about James Hinchcliffe. About 14 minutes remain in this final practice session before we go qualifying a little bit later on today here on the streets of Long Beach.
During the 1969 Indy 500, Mario Andretti's crew couldn't get his tire to come off, so he had no choice but to keep driving on it. That tire held up the whole race and took Mario to the winner's circle. Right, Mario?
That's right. If it wasn't for the dependability of Firestone tires, I wouldn't be an Indy 500 champion.
Here's to making more champions with the official tire of the Verizon IndyCar Series. Whatever you drive, drive a Firestone.
When you first hear it, you move to the edge of your seat. Then it starts. You begin to feel your heart in your throat, and the speed causes an unfamiliar surge of adrenaline. The fastest drivers in the world, Castroneves, Andretti, Rahal, Hinchcliffe, are coming to Barber Motorsports Park April 21st through 23rd. This is the Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama, presented by America's First. And this is the Indy Experience. Purchase your tickets today at barberracingevents.com.
Hinchcliffe, P1, Rahal, Pagano, Dixon, Rossi, the top 5, Power, Helio Castroneves, Charlie Kimball, Sebastian Bourdais, Joseph Newgarden in the top 10. Full field rundown for you. Ryan Hunter-Reay, 11th, Takuma Sato, 12th, Marco Andretti, 13th, and Spencer Pigot, Mikel Alosian, 15th quick, J.R. Hildebrand, Connor Daly, Ed Jones, Max Chilton, and Carlos Munoz. Yeah, that's only 20. 21 cars have entered. The 10 continues back in the paddock. Let's get an update from Dave first. Are they any closer with just about 13 minutes remaining in this session?
Yeah, they are closer. If only fixing one of these machines was as easy as pop and play. It hasn't been that here, but I do expect, in fact, as soon as they say that, they are now rolling the car back and should be rolling it out to pit lane here momentarily. Tip of the hat to these guys. They know what kind of time constraints that they've had. And, once Kanaan gets in the car, once they get pushed all the way out to pit road, they might have 7 or 8 minutes of practice time back here, but we're keeping an eye on it. It's now hooked up to the cart, and the number 10 NTT Data Honda will be making its way out to pit road here momentarily, Mark.
Nick Yeoman.
Yeah, that's a good point by Dave first, especially with lap times over a minute. Not going to be a lot of time for Tony Kanaan to turn a lot of laps, but any laps that he is able to turn on this washed-away surface is certainly going to help. Let's talk about trends a little bit, guys. I think qualifying here at Long Beach, one of the most important places to qualify well all season long, and that's not necessarily because it's difficult to pass. There's a couple good passing zones here at this racetrack, but the trends over the years are that we don't see a lot of full course cautions. 2 years ago, we saw just one when Scott Dixon went to victory lane. Last year, this race went caution free. So, Mark, later this afternoon, qualifying is going to be very important because you just don't get the opportunities to bunch up the field and gang up on guys on restarts here at Long Beach because historically, especially over the last couple of years, this has been a very clean and green race here at Long Beach.
Well, you should be able to add to that, having been in the cockpit in Indy Lights race, Zach.
Well, I think that just comes down to it is, you have that time to get acquainted to the track, and now, a lot of these guys have raced here for a few years now, so we're getting the experience around this place that we need to be able to go caution-free. But, they do have sufficient runoff here, so in the one passing zone that you really have, it really makes you work for that. So you know that you aren't going to throw it in on multiple other passing zones and lead yourself to an accident. So the thing with Long Beach, you got to work so hard to stay close to the car in front of you that it really doesn't give you the opportunity to just throw it in there because it is such a fast course, and then once you get close to somebody, you have that dirty air that really makes your car a handful.
Once upon a time, roaming up and down pit road, sometimes you took it for granted when you had an electrical issue. You grabbed that ECU, and it's always been a pretty quick change, going back a number of years now. But boy, if you plug that new one in, and that doesn't solve it, you're in a world of hurt.
It's so difficult nowadays. I mean, as they said, it's what gives IndyCar the fuel that we have now and allows us to be advanced as we are. But technical issues, electrical issues, it could be something that you can find in 30 seconds and it's a quick fix, or it's something that makes you have to tear the complete car apart, and it could be a day before you find that answer. And we see, the 21 car is still sliding around all over the place, and we see Hildebrand, he's had to save that car from disaster, I think, 10 or 12 times now.
Yeah, he's holding on for dear life. I think you add to the frustration for the 10 crew, Zach. They didn't know better than 13th in the session yesterday. You heard Barry Wanzer talk about that. If you have that issue and you've got a fast race car, you maybe don't feel as bad about losing this time, but I'm sure they'd like to go into that final session at least getting a couple of laps.
Oh, of course. We got to think about it this way, and even if it is only a couple laps, it gets Kanaan warmed up for qualifying because it gets him out on the track. He can see at least what the conditions are because mentally it gives you a benchmark to work off of this afternoon. But having no laps at all and then being thrown into a qualifying session to try to make it to the Fast Six is going to be a very daunting task.
8 minutes left in this session. Again, Hinchcliffe, Rahal, Pagano, the top three. Scott Dixon, fourth quick. Alexander Rossi is fifth quick. Will Power is sixth quick. Then Elio, Kimball, Sato, and Daly. Ryan Hunter-Reay, Sebastian Bourdais, Joseph Newgarden, Andretti, Spencer Pigot complete the top 15. 16th, Aloshin. 17th, Hildebrand. 18th, Munoz. 19th, the rookie Ed Jones. 20th is Max Chilton. And we just took a look at Tony Kanaan. He's on pit road, and Zach, that's about as quick as you can put a helmet and a Hans device on to get in a race car.
Yeah, he's trying to get in this thing so he can get as much time as possible. Probably by the time he's belted in and the car's off pit lane, he's probably going to have 7 to 6 minutes left to practice. So that's going to be 4 or 5 laps for Tony Kanaan, and could be just enough for him to see where he needs to take the car for qualifying.
And good news for him. I mean, with the other series that have been running here so far today, the fact that we're 40 minutes or so into the session, the track has rubbered up a little bit from where it was to start the session.
And another thing he's got working for him is his teammate Scott Dixon, right? And we see him out there right now, P5. So, they can go back, look at his data, and know what they need to do to make their car work this afternoon. And I think you're always as good as your teammates that you can learn from. And Dixon's probably one of the best guys in the paddock that you can learn from.
So day first, the engine comes to life, and Tony Kanaan's getting ready to pull off a pit road?
Yeah, the engines come to life, although they're still strapping in the one-time champion here on the streets of Long Beach. They're moving quickly, though, because time is ticking, 6-7 minutes maybe by the time he gets out there to try to just get in a couple laps here before qualifying this afternoon.
So again, Zach, let's reiterate. Some people might think, why are you bothering with 6.5, 7 minutes? What can you learn in those 6 or 7 minutes?
I think, we always call it knocking the cobwebs off. I mean, they had practice yesterday, and we just heard Tony Kanaan is rolling down pit lane here to get back out there, but it just lets the driver have the mindset of knowing what the conditions are like, getting your reflexes ready for qualifying, and it just puts you in that mindset to get ready to go back to work. And we see P1, James Hinchcliffe, I think he was testing off the runoff down in turn 1, and might have stalled the car there, Mark.
Yeah, he tested it plenty, and he's well out of harm's way, and it'll be interesting to see how quickly the Hamato safety crew can get to him, or if they can get to him where he's aligned. But no flag in that area, but Hinch is stopped right in front of the tires, and we're getting a look at the replay, Zach.
Oh, yeah, we're seeing it. He seems definitely to be off speed here. He's kind of pulling off line and just kind of cruising, not very quick. Maybe he does have a problem. We can see he's on the radio talking back to his crew, but I don't know what's going on there, Mark.
Yeah, there's obviously an issue with that 5 car because he's not at speed on the course, and he's pulled it to a stop with just about 5.5 minutes remaining in this session. There we see the number 10 machine of Tony Kanaan. He's making his way along Seaside Way. That is, for all intents and purposes, the back straightaway now as he sets up for turn number 9. And we'll see if he starts to bring that car up to speed or if he simply decides to pull it onto pit road. Scott Dixon gets into the runoff area in turn number 1. He's waiting for the traffic to clear, and then he'll rejoin the course.
And that's something they always tell us to do as well, because we're down to the last 5 minutes of practice here, and you're getting your tires mileaged out. He's not going to be probably using this set of tires anymore for the weekend, so if you're already happy with your car, just see how deep you can possibly go in these brake zones for qualifying, because if you do lock up a tire and flat spot it, it's all right because it's being thrown out anyway.
Looks as though maybe the electrical gremlins that they were chasing, they have caught now. He hasn't posted his speed yet. We expect him to clear the timing loop for the first time at any moment. But, Zach, we're taking a look at the NTT data machine, the number 10 of Tony Kanaan making his way around the course.
They might have found the gremlins but passed it on to James Hinchcliffe once we find out what his problems were. But, Kanaan's wasting no time to get up to speed. We already see him sliding that car around. So I'm excited to see what he posts with only 4 minutes and 11 seconds left of this session.
James Hinchcliffe continues at P1. He was 10th quick in the combined sessions yesterday. Graham Rahal continues to have a good session. He was 12th quick after the session yesterday. So it goes Hinch, Rahal, Pagano, Joseph Newgarden, and Scott Dixon, the top 5. Alexander Rossi is quietly putting together an efficient weekend for Andretti Autosport and Brian Herta and company. The 98 machine was 11th quick after the combined sessions yesterday. He is 6th quick. Hunter Ray, Powers, Sato, and Castro Neves, your top 10. TK still working his way around the course and continues to build speed. He's turned a couple of laps now as he gets ready to set up for that long back straightaway. So at 3 minutes, 20 seconds remaining in this. And if you're the top 10, do you feel pretty good about going qualifying a little bit later on today? If you're outside the top 10, maybe not so much. Huh?
Well, I think if Hinchcliffe didn't have the problem that he did, as we're getting another shot of him sitting in the runoff, he'd be feeling pretty good. Rahal feeling pretty good. And as a driver that's going to be carrying the Chevy badge, come May, I feel pretty good that we see, we have 2 Hondas, 1 and 2, and then we have a Chevrolet 3rd and 5th now. Dixon just sneaked into the 4th spot. So we're starting to see that competition balance back, that Honda doesn't seem to have as strong of an edge as they did at St. Petersburg.
Yeah, it's as we said, we'll go qualifying at 3:25 Pacific this afternoon, 6:25 Eastern. We do have a final warm-up session scheduled for 9 a.m. tomorrow. And then, of course, race day at 1 Pacific. And you see, courtesy of our multi-screen monitor here, communications with the Hamato safety crew and James Hinchcliffe. He's P1, but he was P1. Now Ryan Hunter-Ray has found some pace. He is the fast time for him. 107.135 for Ryan Hunter-Ray. So he's found some speed here late.
Yeah, everybody's turning the wick up right now. I think we've seen the top 7 change, multiple times over the last 15 seconds. We see Pagano, he's moved up to the 2nd spot, putting Hinch down to 3rd now. But Sato, Rahal, and Power, that's your top 6.
Yeah, Wally Levin, our network director, again monitors race control, points out things from time to time. They're holding on to those reds, using them judiciously in this final session. It was funny, yesterday in the second session at the end of it, it was all lit up in red, and today it's all lit up in black.
I think everybody's wanting to save them for qualifying them, because the way this track is, it is such a high-speed place. To get that extra time, the red tires, I think, are really going to make a difference for the guys here.
Back to pit road, Nick Yeoman.
Yeah, and let's also keep in mind that yesterday's practice was at 2 o'clock in the afternoon local time. Qualifying later today is at 3:25, so that was probably the closest in terms of track conditions you're going to see. Now, obviously, the overnight showers change that up a bit. Anytime you talk to drivers, they talk about chasing this racetrack throughout the course of the weekend because you start with just some city streets and a racetrack set up around them, and then as the course of the weekend goes on, more and more rubber is laid down. But yeah, I think that's why we saw so many drivers yesterday on the Reds in the afternoon practice session, because those track conditions are going to be pretty close in terms of air conditions and rubber laid down of what we're going to see later this afternoon for Verizon P1 qualifying, Mark.
What is the busiest aspect in the cockpit of this racetrack? Where are the areas in which you need to really maintain your focus?
I'd say turn 1 all the way to turn 5. You know, we have such a long straightaway, hard braking into turn 1, except it is still a pretty fast corner, so you want to roll a lot of speed through there. Then it takes us into one of the most beautiful corners in motor racing, which is the fountain turn. You really want to get off the fountain well, which leads you into my favorite corner, turn 4, because it's such a flowing corner that every time you get on power there, you just come off this corner with this nice little micro slide all the way out to the wall, and then before you can really catch your breath, you're already throwing it into turn 6, which is extremely bumpy, and you got to hit that just right to carry all that speed down to turn 7.
We talk a lot about tire wear, tire management. You had an opportunity to test a Verizon IndyCar Series car last year at the end of the season at Sonoma. Talk a little bit about what changes about the race car as that grip starts to go away.
Well, you got to think of it from what problem do you have in your race car. You know, luckily with the Firestone tires, you know, they do have to fall off throughout the run to show which drivers, you know, took a better care of their tires. So if you have a car that's really pushing, so not turning as well as you want to, you're going to burn those fronts off as the race goes on. If you got a car that's really sliding, you're going to lose the rears. So as you start to lose the rears, you're not only losing the rear through the corner, you're losing your traction as well. So you can really slow down if you have a car that's not very happy with the rear end.
Checkered flag is out on this final practice session before we go qualifying, and you look up at the top of timing and scoring, and you see the 9 of Scott Dixon. Ryan Hunter-Ray is second quick. Simon Pagenaud, James Hinchcliffe, Takuma Sato, Graham Rahal, Will Power, Joseph Newgarden, Sebastian Bourdais, and Alexander Rossi, the top 10. Elio 11th quick. Kimball 12th quick. 13th quick, Aloshin. 14th quick, Connor Daly, the last one to come to pit road. Tony Ganon did get out, found some speed, got up to 15th quick, just got 5 laps turned, though, in the session because of those electrical gremlins that developed this morning. 16th quick, Piggott. 17th, Andretti. 18th quick, Ed Jones. Then Chilton, Hildebrand, and Munoz. Let's go back and revisit the conversation Dave first had with Barry Wanzer. That's when the team aspect really comes into motorsports, Zach, because you show up at the paddock this morning, you think you're just going to go through your usual routine to get ready for your final session, and you do that systems check back there in the paddock, and boy, how frustrating it must have been for them to have to chase that gremlin.
It's extremely tough, and that's the thing that's nice about having a team like Ganassi or Penske or Andretti Autosport is, you know, they're one team for sure. You know, it doesn't matter how many cars they have. If one car has a problem, all the best guys go to that car to try to get it, you know, as fixed as quickly as possible, because you got to look at it as each car is logging data with every lap that it makes. So each car is helping the next and the next after that. So you want to have as many cars as you can out there. So it's really important to have your best guys trying to get it fixed as quickly as possible, just so it benefits the team by having that extra car out there.
James Hinchcliffe will finish 4th quick in this session. Actually, he'll finish in the runoff area, but he's getting a tow back to pit road. And so we'll get you updated as we get closer to qualifying on exactly what the issue was with the car of James Hinchcliffe. But Scott Dixon, Ryan Hunter-Ray, Pagenaud, Hinch, and Sato, the top 5. Takuma Sato looks like he's settled in nicely with Andretti Autosport. He had a solid top 10 day at St. Petersburg, Zach.
No, I think that comes down to just they're coming into the season, you know, so strong that they're trying to start it off on the right foot, and that's the main thing, you know, is St. Pete's so important for your season that if you have a good weekend there, it just lets you have that confidence into Long Beach, and that just builds on to Indy. And I think if they can keep doing what they're doing, they're going to have a great season.
Let's hear from one of his teammates, the driver of the 27 machine, Marco Andretti.
Yeah, Marco Andretti is out of that United Fiber and Data car for Andretti Autosport. Practice wrapped up, qualifying later this afternoon. You were pretty quick yesterday on the Reds. How optimistic are you for qualifying later this afternoon?
Yeah, still remaining optimistic. I think, we're just trying to trying to guess right at the balance on reds and where the track's going to be after the IMSA race will be tricky. So luckily we got knocked down to Group 2 there, so we get to watch Group 1. So there's a little bit of a luxury. Hopefully we just make the right decision for later on reds. The car seems to behave pretty good on reds.
Explain for our race fans, obviously there's different tire compounds that all these different series race on. What's it like, though, compared to a green racetrack when there's not a lot of rubber down, and then certainly that other type of compounds?
Yeah, so a green track is basically there's no rubber down, so the whole car sort of slides and it's very predictable. But sometimes our Firestone rubber is not compatible with other rubber down, and so then you get sort of a grip slide, and it's very unpredictable for the first couple laps till we peel their rubber up and start laying ours down.
I appreciate it. Marco Andretti, he'll be in qualifying later this afternoon. Dave First, one of the guys that's been fast all weekend, standing by on pit lane with you.
Yep, P1 today. If you're going to start a qualifying Saturday at Long Beach, you want to be P1, although ideally you want to be P1 at the end of the day as well.
Yeah, that's the race is what really counts.
Well, of course, there's that too. Yeah,
it's nice to be on the pole, but it definitely, if you've got the speed, it can make your day a lot easier if you start near the front. This track in the past, I think, has had some pretty good strategy races, and typically too, if you can trim out for the race, if you've got good mechanical grip, you can pass too. So we'll have to see how it goes. The NTT data car, both of them actually, all Ganassi cars have rolled off really well. We struggled a little bit yesterday with timing and caught the red at the wrong time on the soft tires, but hopefully later today we can still be at the pointy end. But as you look from the results, man, it's super tight. Like, I think there was 3 or 4 cars, maybe 5 within a 10th.
That's kind of become the norm in IndyCar, right?
It has, man. The competition's through the roof. Between the teams, the caliber of the drivers at the pointy end of the field is just insane. So it's a lot of fun, But as we all know, practice doesn't count for anything. It makes you feel good going into qualifying, but it can turn around and bite you pretty quick.
How big of a weekend is this for you guys, the 9 car? Because you maybe should have had a win at St. Pete a couple of weeks ago. Came up with the podium, which is great and everything, but I think you feel like you had a better car there. How good is your car here this weekend?
Yeah, the old shoulda, coulda, woulda, but the car at St. Pete was insanely fast. Without the mistake I made in qualifying, I think we would have captured the pole. We were fastest in, I think, about all the practices and fastest in the race. We just, it's the way strategy goes sometimes, and we got caught out by that yellow and dropped back to 15th, I think, and then raced our way back up to 3rd. But, it was good for Honda, and obviously a huge congrats to Bourdais and Dale Coyne. It's great to see that team. It's a smaller team than the rest, but, obviously with Sebastian, he's a hell of a driver, and what they accomplished that weekend was fantastic for Honda too.
Hey, you're not a bad driver either.
Occasionally. Thanks, man.
Scott Dixon ready to go P1 here in this final session before qualifying this afternoon.
Well, Zach Veach, one more time, let's share with the folks your plans for the month of May in the 101st Indianapolis 500 with AJ Foyt Racing, and let's talk about the sponsorship deal you put together.
Yeah, I'm just so thankful for everybody at the Indy Women in Tech Championship. It's presented by Guggenheim. It's going to be the LPGA tournament that's taking part at the Brickyard Golf Course in September 4th through the 10th. So, it's special to be with them because it's a foundation that helps get women more involved in the field of robotics and, of course, STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So I've always been involved with people that I believe in and foundations that I believe in that try to help us have a brighter future. And that's exactly what they're trying to do for not just women in Indiana, but, everybody. So I'm really excited to take them out there. Their first Indianapolis 500 is my first Indianapolis 500, so I'm really excited for a great month of May.
When are you getting fitted for that seat and getting that cockpit all lined up?
Hopefully within the next couple weeks. I do know that they're stripping my car apart right now. It's going to be heading towards paint and body fit and getting ready, and right now I'm a kid like Christmas. I've been keeping it together now, but I know as soon as I see that Verizon IndyCar sitting there with my name on it, I'm going to be like a little boy before Christmas.
Are they working on that car in the Indianapolis shop or the Texas shop?
It's going to be at the Indianapolis shop, so that's something I'm thankful for because I'll get to go see it every day and, talk to it, whisper to it, try to make it fast.
Well, what you'll have to do is you have to go through the side door. My wife will be in the winery there, so
okay,
she might want to come in
well,
and see the race
I'll
car.
Stop and say hello, and we got to get you out there to see it once we get her put together.
Well, I tell you, thanks for the phone call earlier this week. That was one of my favorite in a long time, and congratulations to you. So.
Yeah, thank you guys. No, it's a pleasure. It's a weight off my shoulders and more pressure to put on, but, we've been wanting to be able to do this for 18 years now, and to have the opportunity, like I said, it's just something I'm so thankful for. To thank everybody that's helped me. Thank God. It's just something that's going to change my life forever.
He will be on pit road for qualifying. I'll have Davey Hamilton in the booth with me. We'll have Dave First and Zach Veach on pit road, and then Jake Query and Nick Yeoman will handle things out on the turns. We will do that at 3:25 Pacific, 6:25 Eastern. The director of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Radio Network is Wally Levitt. Our on-site engineer and producer is Rick Evans. Great job. Great stuff from Dave First and Nick Yeoman down on pit road. For Zach Veach, this is Mark Janes. So long for now from the streets of Long Beach.
This is the Verizon IndyCar Series on the advance.
And Johnny Rutherford, and here to call the winner is the voice of the 500 St. Collins.
And here's the checkered flag for Johnny Rutherford, winner of the 1974 Indianapolis 500-mile race.
From the streets of Long Beach, this is the Verizon IndyCar Series on the Advance Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network.
43rd time, in fact, the streets of Long Beach, hosting open-wheel racing. I'm Mark Janes. Hello, everyone. Welcome to complete coverage of qualifying in preparation for tomorrow's race here on the Advanced Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network. Happy to be joined in the broadcast booth by our driver analyst, Davey Hamilton. And Davey, everyone, well, not everyone, most everyone talking about not a lot of new paving, but just enough to make a difference, especially the bumps that have been created leading into that in that already troublesome and tricky turn 9 area.
You know, it was great to drive the two-seater around there yesterday and today, but this morning we had rain, Mark, and sometimes when it's rain, you know, the track's still damp. It really tells you the grip level and kind of what dries off, what doesn't. But that turn 8, 9 was brutal. It was like an ice skating rink when there's rain on it. So telling you that is, it takes a little longer to get rubber down in that area, for sure, to get some grip. But I think it's coming. We went out for the second session, and even though the bumps are there with the new asphalt, it just makes it a little bit easier, but a little bit faster. Now, another thing, you know, going into 7, coming around that area, it's still off camber. It goes from concrete to asphalt. I think that's still the trickiest part of the racetrack, the hardest to maneuver, and a guy can make a mistake there very easy. And I think there's a passing zone going down into turn 8, so it's going to be exciting. And 7.
All of the sessions that we've had today, including one Verizon IndyCar Series practice session, that track all but rubbered back up after the rain last night.
Yeah, you know, it's good. I think it's really good. Even when we went back this late morning with the two-seaters, it had some grip there, so we were able to kind of pick up where we left off. So, you know, I was impressed with the times of practice this morning from these guys. When you've seen, power yesterday, obviously, but then today, Hinchcliffe laid down a really good lap pretty early and kind of gave the guys something to shoot at there. So it's the Honda Chevrolet battle, right? I'm excited to say one thing. Even though there's only 8 Chevrolets in this field, it was pretty mixed up yesterday. Mm-hmm. You know, you had Power on top, then you had Marco Andretti, who did a great job yesterday in his Honda in second. So, and then in third was Simon Pagenaud. So it's mixed up between the Hondas and the Chevys, which I love. I think, you know, when you get parity with these cars, and we don't know which is best for which racetrack, no matter what manufacturer it is, I think that's great for competition. It's great for morale. It's great for the sponsors because you know you can come here and have a chance to win. I'm excited to see this qualifying run. Actually, more excited than the first race because the first race it was kind of
right.
You just didn't know what's happening. Well, these guys are getting it together. They're figuring it out, and it's exciting. And it's Long Beach. What a great day! The people out there today is amazing. How many people are at the facility right now to watch this event, and yeah, it brings excitement, right?
look at the tire management over the course of the weekend of the usage. We got to the final stint of the session yesterday. We looked at timing and scoring, and our indicator was all red. And then today, in that final session, we saw a lot of work at the end of the session, all on the blacks. A little stingier with those reds today.
Well, and with the new rules, being that you get an extra set of reds that you can actually practice on, when I seen that on timing and scoring, I thought, what are they doing? They have that wrong, or they text, they're just checking out timing and scoring to make sure that's right. And I completely forgot the rule package, right? That they get reds, they get a practice on them. It's such a difference now because going into qualifying all until the first race of this year, you really didn't know what that red package was going to do with balance of your race car. Well, now you kind of have an idea of what you can get out of that, what you need to change balance-wise, and another great thing is how long those the softer red compound tires will last you in the race.
45-minute sessions this year, meaning the track activities picked up a bit, which is what the series wanted, especially for the fans.
Nothing worse for your fan to come here and say, okay, practices at one time, starts and ends at one time, but then there's not much activity on the track, right? Well, when they went to these 45-minute sessions, buddy, that green comes out, and there are cars on that racetrack immediately, and the entire time is kind of like a race, which is exciting. And and I think it's good for these teams and these drivers to have that. It gets them. It's the same everywhere we go, Mark. It's the same time of day. Right. They really tried to make it uniform to where these guys just get used to that time frame. And I think it's a really good idea, and it seems to be playing out because, man, they don't waste any time. When the green's out, they're out.
45 minutes not enough for one team. Tony Kanaan chased electrical gremlins that cropped up this morning when they first got to the track. I think he only got about 5 laps in.
Well, there's the negatives, right, as well. But these teams normally, electrical gremlins, right? It happens in these cars because the telemetry and electronics in these cars are such a massive part of the telemetry or the car nowadays that, man, it's sometimes hard to track down. But majority of the time, these things, as you know, this isn't even pace racing anymore, right? We used to say, okay, halfway through the race, you kind of pace a little bit. Today, it is from the start to the finish. It's a sprint race. These guys go as hard as they can every lap, and that just tells you how reliable these cars are. And, Mark, here we go. We're green right now.
Yep, session number 1, Group 1, Ryan Hunter-Reay, James Hinchcliffe, Graham Rahal, Joseph Newgarden, Alexander Rossi, and Charlie Kimball, Connor Daly, Spencer Pigot, Ed Jones, and J.R. Hildebrand. Session number 1, a 10-minute session as qualifying is underway in preparation for tomorrow's race. Well, we mentioned some rain overnight. Nothing but blue skies right now. Plenty of sunshine. Well, welcome to the broadcast. Dave first. Dave, a gorgeous day here in Long Beach. That's nothing new, though.
Yeah, how about this? Not a cloud in the sky, and that's not an over-exaggeration at all. What a beautiful afternoon here on the streets of Long Beach. Temperature at 66 degrees. Track temperature up just a skosh, now at 106. Tell you what, the only thing these guys might be dealing with out on the race course, the wind conditions. Gusts of up to maybe 10, maybe 15 miles an hour. Things are picking up when it comes to that area right now. Back to Tony Kanaan real briefly. The electronic issues they had in this morning's practice session, they feel like that has taken care of itself. And now we also had... it was James Hinchcliffe who had some gearbox issues in that practice session as well. They've changed all of that. Out as well, so we're good to go here. Taking a look at the second group, Mark Janes. Right, I tell you what, that's going to be the tough group to get out of. Guys like Scott Dixon, Simon Pagino, Will Powers, Sebastian Bourdais, Helio Castroneves. A couple guys in there that have already won 3 poles here in Long Beach. That's going to be a tough afternoon here, no doubt about it.
Also working pit road, the newest entrant into the 101st running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race. Working with us as a pit reporter this weekend, Zach Veach. Your thoughts and impressions of this P1 qualifying session?
Well, hey guys, I think it's going to be very busy because we have James Hinchcliffe and Ryan Hunter-Reay, of course. I'm standing in the pit lane of J.R. Hildebrand, Connor Daly, and have Ed Jones near me as well. So those 3 guys have been working really hard to find their rhythm here this weekend. So hopefully we can see them pick it up and fight for the Fast 6 as we get going later on today.
Davey, time is, we talked about timing being a premium for Tony Kanaan and his crew, and it took them so long to make those repairs, even though they've made them rather quickly, all things being considered, not knowing what they were chasing. But, boy, just like that, as we talked about at St. Pete, we look up at the clock, and, boy, already 3 minutes have passed by in this session.
Yeah, they don't let any time pass, and you can see these guys went out on the harder the black tires. They're just a standard tire, just to kind of get a feel for their car again. They haven't been out for a few hours now on the racetrack. Actually, for about 4 hours. A race has been ran between now and then, and so the track may be different. So they go out, get a balance. But you're going to see these guys make a couple laps, shoot in the pits, put on those softer red tires, and go out and really try to cut a lap. And sometimes, man, they wait till the last few minutes to get it done, and the pressure's on the driver not to make any mistakes. But, that's what makes it such a challenging qualifying run.
We talked to Zach Veach when we had him in the booth for the session earlier today. Turn 11, most important. Got to carry momentum through there so you can take advantage of this long main straightaway.
Well, there's a couple. That's very important, right? That the better you can come off of that corner, power down, no wheel spin, and really get momentum. Absolutely. So you have nobody to really challenge you down into turn 1, which is the best passing zone on this racetrack. But going into turn 9 as well, that's important. You need to come off at 8 really well to make sure you get down that straightaway as well, because that's another passing zone. And there's a couple tricky areas that if you can make a mistake in 6 and 7, and if you make a little mistake there and you lose momentum, a guy could slide by you there. It's tight, but a pass can be made.
Off the hairpin, James Hinchcliffe. Believe that's the number 2 of Joseph Newgarden. It looks like those guys are going to duck onto pit road for some service. So, Davey, what's next for those guys? A set of reds?
A set of reds, absolutely. And maybe a little of adjustment. They may say, hey, the balance is a little off. Let's, hopefully not, but maybe make a little of adjustment to make sure the car's just to its very, it feels best to them as the driver. But then put the softer red compound tires, which automatically is going to give you some lap time.
Couple of guys out on the course going to help us call this one. Jake, we got it to you a little bit late, but we just saw Ryan Hunter-Reay clear you in turn 1. You actually have them literally coming and going from your vantage point.
That is correct. They go out of my view, then come back into it. How does that work? I'll explain. Shoreline is, of course, the road here that takes them into turn number 1. Left-hander that goes out of my view. I'm watching that straight ahead. But then they go around that fountain area, the picturesque area here known as Pine Avenue Pier in Long Beach. Once they go around that fountain, they take a right-handed turn that is turn number 5. That gets them back onto Shoreline. They come back into my view at a left-handed turn number 6. Underneath the Tecate Bridge, they go around the shopping and entertainment district here in Long Beach, the Laugh Factory to their left, and then they go out of my view. Pretty steady wind right now, Mark, working on these drivers as they work their way into turn number 1. It would be coming at them moving into turn number 1. It would be going at their back and pushing them as they exit turn number 5.
Well, the fountain around that turn 3 area and 4 area, one of the signature portions of this, the guy that has the view of the other signature portion of this course, talking about that aforementioned hairpin. Nick Yeoman, we warn you, don't be distracted by the goings-on on the beach just behind you. You're going to have to focus on the racetrack.
But Mark Janes, it's so tempting because it is beautiful with the beach and the ocean to my left and the racetrack to my right. You mentioned one of the signature portions of this Long Beach 11-turn street circuit is right here. One of the slowest corners in the entire sport. They'll creep down to 5 or 10 miles per hour, and we'll hope all weekend we'll avoid the proverbial parking lot that inevitably happens down here, but certainly this is a spectacular view. Thousands of race fans have lined up and down Shoreline Drive here to watch qualifying. We're going to expect even more tomorrow as qualifying continues on. Interesting note that I've noticed from up here so far, Mark, only 3 drivers started on the reds. It looked like Spencer Piggott, Ed Jones, and Connor Daly all started on the reds. Everybody else started on the harder compound blacks. A lot of those drivers, like Charlie Kimball, who's negotiating that turn 11 hairpin, have switched to the reds. Kimball hard on the accelerator underneath the Port of Long Beach Bridge, where he races by that beautiful booth there, Mark, on the front straightaway. What a vantage point here in Long Beach.
Top 6 for now. Daly, Jones, Hunter-Reay, Rossi, Pickett, Joseph Newgarden, Zach Veach. You have an update on J.R. Hildebrand, who currently is 7th quick.
We watched Hildebrand leave for this practice session on a brand new set of black Firestone tires, but as he finds himself slightly looking on the outside, looking into the Fast 6, he came in, grabbed a brand new set of sticker reds, is now going out to try to get back into the Fast 6.
All right, so J.R. Hildebrand didn't do a bad job when it came to the practice sessions. He hung around the top 10 most of the weekend for sure, but looking to crack that Firestone Fast 6 for sure. Let's go back to Jay Query.
Might be a little bit early for that flyer lap, if you will, although right now would seem to be the time. But Ed Jones, who finds himself second, Mark, in this session right now, if he wanted to get a good lap right now, might have gotten hung up just a little bit. That's because when he went into turn number 1, you had James Hinchcliffe and Charlie Kimball coming off of pit road blending in. caused him to have to check up that 19 machine just a little bit. It's one of those single-second hiccups that could cost you if you're trying to lay down your best lap.
Business pick it up. We'll go right back to you, Jake. The defending Indy 500 winner, Alexander Rossi, among those coming into your view as J.R. Hildebrand clears you.
That was Rossi that you just heard. Meanwhile, going into turn number 6 is Graham Rahal. Will follow Alexander Rossi as he works his way around that fountain area. Then tries to take that right-hander that is turn number 5. You've got a good opportunity to get yourself ahead of steam between 5 and 6 because it's a pretty long straightaway. Alexander Rossi tries to do just that right now as J.R. Hildebrand goes through 6. There goes that Napa machine, car number 98, Alexander Rossi out of turn number 6.
Watching the 2 car of Joseph Newgarden, he makes the right-hander through turn number 9. He'll pop into the view of Nick Yeoman.
And he's chasing after Graham Rahal and Ryan Hunter-Reay. Here comes Newgarden, hard on the brakes, does a good job not to kick up any smoke, tugs that steering wheel to the right, back onto the accelerator. Spencer Pigot and J.R. Hildebrand chasing after, but Joseph Newgarden on a flyer underneath the Toyota bridge.
Jake Query, I believe that was the 15 of Graham Rahal that just cleared your view.
Yes, sir. Graham Rahal, and already behind him, he's got Hunter-Reay and then Joseph Newgarden as well. Business starting to get busy around the fountain area. And again, typically, Mark, guys like to give themselves a little bit of breathing room to get down a good lap. That's what Graham Rahal has been able to do. He goes by, takes that left-hander with no problem. It's turn number 6. Now Ryan Hunter-Reay is going to do the same thing.
How about Alexander Rossi, Davey? He's gone to P1.
Yeah, good lap by him for sure. And you know, he's got to watch. He's getting more comfortable in that car. The Honda Power seems to fit his style. He's close to the walls. I'm telling you what, he's doing up every bit of racetrack he's taken. But right now, P1 with him, then go Joseph Newgarden right on his tail.
Nick, just behind Graham Rahal, you will see Ryan Hunter-Reay.
Yeah, here comes Graham Rahal. He lights him up into turn 11. Graham Rahal out of turn 11. Then Ryan Hunter-Reay, a one-time champion, also a winner one time here at the Grand Prix of Long Beach. Joseph Newgarden chases after him. Newgarden will duck onto pit lane. Hunter-Reay back onto Shoreline Drive.
And a long line of cars still making their way down Shoreline Drive. Nick clearing turn number 9, the 83 of Charlie Kimball.
Yeah, Charlie Kimball as well as Alexander Rossi. Here comes Ed Jones, Charlie Kimball, and the 5 of James Hinchcliffe. Hinchcliffe actually all over the rear wing of Charlie Kimball. They'll both duck out on the pit lane, but all these drivers trying to pull a fast lap here in the final seconds, Mark.
I believe that's Alexander Rossi in the 98. Jake, he just went by you?
Alexander Rossi is already, I believe, around the fountain area, as a matter of fact. It got really busy there, and everybody seemed to be bunched up as we watch him coming out of 5. You've got, first off, Spencer Pigot, then you wait just a little bit before you see that 21 of J.R. Hildebrand, and then Alexander Rossi, who right now finds himself in that 6 that would advance out of this session, Mark.
Nick, we'll let you do the roll call. I think that's Rahal, then Ryan Hunter-Reay behind him.
Rahal on the bubble in 6th. Ryan Hunter-Reay seemingly safe in 3rd. Both of those drivers out of turn 11, and they'll bring those cars onto pit lane. Here comes Spencer Pigot. He's got quite a bit of work to do in that Loki Wolf Dog Chevrolet for Ed Carpenter Racing. He's 10th. He'll duck onto pit lane. J.R. Hildebrand and Alexander Rossi coming through as well. Rossi, that LED display showing him in 3rd. So looks like everything clear, Mark, towards the back of the field as most of the drivers have ducked back onto pit lane.
A little dust up between the 83 of Charlie Kimball and the 5 of James Hinchcliffe is under review by Race Control. We can tell you now, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Joseph Newgarden, Alexander Rossi, Graham Rahal, James Hinchcliffe, and Charlie Kimball, the 6 that move on. The guys that don't, Davey, Ed Jones, J.R. Hildebrand, Connor Daly, and Spencer Pigot.
Yeah, disappointing for Ed Carpenter Racing, 8th and 10th in that round. So they're going to find themselves starting in the back of the field. Had some pretty good runs earlier. As a matter of fact, Hildebrand, he was 9th overall quickest. I mean, I thought we would see him have a shot for that fast 6, but obviously that's back to the balance of the car for qualifying. It has to be just right, and they just missed it.
Group number 2 when we come back here to the streets of Long Beach.
You can't take a 700 horsepower IndyCar out on the road, but you can take the tires. The new Firehawk high-performance tires from Firestone are built with racing-inspired technology and have better wet and dry handling than ever before. Now the only thing missing is a pit crew.
Hi, Dad.
Well, that's a start. Find your perfect Firehawk performance tire at your local Firestone retailer. Whatever you drive a Firestone.
When you first hear it, you move to the edge of your seat. Then it starts. You begin to feel your heart in your throat, and the speed causes an unfamiliar surge of adrenaline. The fastest drivers in the world, Castroneves, Andretti, Rahal, Hinchcliffe, are coming to Barber Motorsports Park April 21st through 23rd. This is the Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama, presented by America's First. And this is the Indy Experience. Purchase your tickets today at barberracingevents.com.
From the Firestone broadcast booth in Long Beach, this is the Verizon IndyCar Series.
Okay, again, clearing round one, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Joseph Newgarden, Alexander Rossi, Graham Rahal, James Hinchcliffe, and Charlie Kimball. Those not moving on, Ed Jones, J.R. Hildebrand, Connor Daly, and Spencer Pigot. Group number 2 will be stout, plenty stout, in fact. Scott Dixon, Simon Pagenaud, Takuma Sato, Will Power, Sebastian Bourdais, Elio Castroneves, Mikel Aloshin, Tony Kanaan, Marco Andretti, and Max Chilton. Out of that group, Davey, I think all but maybe 2 or 3 spent time at the top of timing and scoring during the course of this weekend.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? I think the second group, without a doubt, is a little bit more difficult group. But here's an interesting thing. Just as we talked where Honda and Chevrolet, I really try to keep track of that because I love seeing them being equal. Well, 5 of that 6 right there that made it through were Hondas. Yeah. So Newgarden was the only one that's a Chevrolet, and he finds himself P2. Very competitive, but that's pretty interesting. We'll see what happens in this round.
So Ryan Hunter-Reay, Joseph Newgarden, Alexander Rossi, Graham Rahal, Hinch, and Kimball move on. Let's hear from some of the drivers who did not. Let's go to Zach Veach on pit road.
Hey guys, I'm sitting here with J.R. Hildebrand. J.R., you've been pretty fast through practice here at Long Beach Grand Prix. Take us through your qualifying run and what's been the biggest adjustment coming back full time in the Verizon IndyCar Series.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm bummed with the qual run. We, it's always just a matter of a tenth or two here and there. It's tough to piece it all together. But we've had a pretty good car all weekend. The boys have been doing a really good job. So hopefully we can make some headway in the race. Our car's been good. Not that you're purposefully doing long runs in practice, but we've been good on tire wear. So hopefully that kind of plays in our advantage. Coming back to it, man, it's just how small the tolerances are everywhere. And really getting used to figuring out where those little pieces are and being able to extract that out of the car everywhere, So I think between working with the team to understand how that needs to happen and then going out and executing, we're looking forward to continuing to make progress.
Well, thank you. Best of luck in the race, JR. Back to Mark.
Thanks, Zach. J.R. Hildebrand, he was very matter-of-fact, Davey. It's a matter of getting up to speed with the team, everybody getting on the same page.
Yeah, well, and one thing that we just talked about, and he mentioned, it's not like these big chunks. It's not like he's really missing out, even though he found himself at the 8th position, in that first round. It is the little details. It's that little. It's a half a tenth in this corner, and it's a quarter of a tenth in the next corner, and it's just how do you get those little tenths together to get a gain? Because if he a couple tenths, it puts himself right in the game. Matter of fact, I think he turned a 107.6, a 107.4. He's in the game. So it's that close.
Let's go to pit road and Dave first.
An opportunity to catch up with Ed Jones, just a couple of hundredths here or there, could have got you in the second group, or at least the second qualifying session here. What happened out there for you?
Yeah, it was. Went red, used both sets. Obviously, it's you have to be a bit of a gamble, Red line on tyres yesterday, it was really not good. We were struggling with the car, so I didn't get a proper read. So today qualifying was the first time I really felt the big jump. I just missed it by a tenth to get in there, which is frustrating, but I feel the car's solid, and like St. Pete, I know we can do a good job, and if we can get the right brakes, we can run at the front.
And good luck tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Ed Jones will roll off 13th. Back to Zach Veach.
Connor Daly, you guys have been working really hard to learn this new aero kit. Take us through your qualifying run and the progress you guys have made this weekend.
Yeah, I think we made a lot of progress in the last session. It was we were only half a second off of P1 and FP3, and we were losing 0.3 just on the 2 straights alone. So we were hopefully, we were going to try and trim out a little bit for this session. Not really sure why we were losing out so much, speed to the other Chevys, but. Yeah, we're just too loose. We just missed it by a little bit. And it's just such a shame. This qualifying, all happens very quickly, and I clearly haven't, got it down yet. But the car felt good, just a little bit too much on edge, and we just lost a little bit in the last sector. But it's tough to drive in this current condition, so hopefully we can just fix it a little bit for tomorrow. But I think we made a lot of progress from St. Pete, which is nice.
All right, man. Well, best of luck tomorrow. Thanks.
Zach Veach talking with his teammate at the Indianapolis 500, Connor Daly. Nick Yeoman, Davey and I were talking about how stout P2 is. This is a group of guys very familiar with Victory Lane here in Long Beach.
Yeah, here's the bad news, Mark. If you're Mikhail Aloshin, Tony Kanaan, Marco Andretti, Max Chilton, or Carlos Munoz, if you want to make it into round 2, you're going to have to out-qualify a former Long Beach winner. 6 of the 7 active Long Beach winners in this group, so it's going to be fun to watch. Some of these former winners like Scott Dixon, Simon Pagenaud, Takuma Sato, Will Power, Sebastian Bourdais, and Helio Castroneves. It is a stout group number 2, Mark, as those drivers get up to speed here at Long Beach.
Yeah, that's plenty stout for sure. We're watching the NTD data machine of Scott Dixon. Nick Yeoman, speaking of Dixie, he pops into your view off of turn number 9.
Yeah, he's chasing after Will Power as both of those drivers are going to jump onto Shoreline Drive, exiting turn number 11. Power's going to duck onto pit lane. Dixon's going to follow him. So will Tony Kanaan, and it looks like Takuma Sato as well. So a lot of these drivers, Mark, opt in early to jump on those reds.
Will Power, Tony Kanaan, Scott Dixon, Max Chilton, Takuma Sato, those guys in the top 6. And Davey, as we speak, we see guys that come onto pit road, look for those reds now that we're about halfway through this 10-minute session now. And as fast as we give the order, it turns over again.
Yeah, real quick, Will Power is at the top of the board at a 107.7. That's his first lap. He made one lap and came right in. That would have put him in the 9th spot in the first round. That just tells you how tough this is. So we're going to see times drop. These guys are going to start coming in. They're going to put the softer red compound tires on. And, it's going to be exciting. This is a tough group right here.
So we're watching the 26 machine of Takuma Sato. He clears number 9. Nick Yeoman, question is, he clears number 8. Now he sets up for turn number 9 of that 26 machine for Andretti Autosport. A former winner here, Nick. Question is, does he stay out or does he duck onto pit road for the Reds?
Yeah, this, of course, the site of Taku's first and only win, and what a win it was for A.J. Foyt Racing a couple years ago. Sato clears turn 11, jumps on the accelerator, and then quickly takes his foot off that right foot pedal and ducks onto pit lane. Here comes his teammate Marco Andretti, currently 5th fastest. Andretti off of turn 11. He'll go to pit lane as well, Mark.
Speaking of pit lane, let's get an update from there by checking in with Dave first.
Yeah, halftime, if you will. 5 minutes down, 5 to go here in this Group 2. We've seen Will Power, Scott Dixon, Tony Kanaan, Max Chilton, Carlos Munoz, and the aforementioned Takuma Sato. And guess what? Marco Andretti just pulled onto pit road into his pit stall as well. They're all going to the alternate reds as you hear Simon Pagenaud, the reigning champion here at Long Beach, take off, ready to go here in this 5-minute dash to get into round 2.
Yeah, down to 4 minutes as you say that, Dave. Ryan Hunter-Reay, Joseph Newgarden, Alexander Rossi, check that. Will Power, Mikhail Aloshin, Marco Andretti, Pagenaud, Kanaan, and Helio Castroneves, the top 6. Davey, looks like everybody's going to be on reds now, according to Dave.
Yeah, they're all going to be on reds right now. And matter of fact, I think all of them are. A couple guys pulled over, let some of the Foston guys going by. But let me see, who's going to be the first guy on reds? It looks like maybe Chilton is up to speed. He may be the first guy to cross that line with those red tires. We'll just see what kind of time he can lay. Oh, so close to the wall coming off of turn 5 there, man. He about left a little bit of those red tires on the wall.
So, we continue now. 3.5 minutes remaining in this session. As we can see, Davey, that's the nice thing about having all these monitors in front of us now. We can see that bright red ring as they work their way around us, and business starting to pick up as they get to Nick Yeoman. First up, you'll see the 8 machine of Max Chilton.
Yeah, here comes Max Chilton. He's on those alternate red sidewall tires. Chilton actually gingerly drives that car through turn number 11. Here comes Scott Dixon in tow with that NTT Data Honda. Pair of teammates for Ganassi on the Shoreline Drive.
And one of the ABC supply machines in front of Jake Query. That's the 14 of Munoz.
Yep, Munoz already takes turn number 1. Then behind him, he's got Max Chilton. Interesting on the last lap, couple of pairs that were awfully close to one another. teammates Simon Pagenaud and Will Power. In addition, teammates Marco Andretti and Takuma Sato all were kind of tiptoeing here through Long Beach, very, very close to one another. Now they'll distance themselves somewhat as Daly takes that left-hander that is turn number 6, and then behind him, Chilton. We'll wait just a little bit to see who's exiting turn number 5, and that's that NTT data machine of Scott Dixon. One note, Mark, with the NTT data blue machines of Scott Dixon and his teammate Takuma Sato, the differential can be seen if you're watching online in the fact that it is Dixon that has the light baby blue accentuation at the top of the machine. The all royal blue is Tony Kanaan.
Speaking of Scott Dixon, he pops into the view of Nick Yeoman.
Yeah, here comes Scott Dixon driving that Honda for Chip Ganassi Racing. Had a pretty good debut about a month ago at St. Petersburg. Dixon on the pedal off of turn number 11 underneath the Port of Long Beach Bridge.
And he is going to pop the P1, and his teammate Tony Kanaan right behind him, back to Nick Yeoman.
Oh, just about had an incident here in 11. Simon Pagenaud and Elio Castroneves, a pair of Penske teammates. Simon was in front of Elio and got on the brakes a lot earlier than I think Elio expected. Castroneves had to jerk that steering wheel to the left to avoid hitting that bright yellow Menards car. But, Mark, we about had a Penske mess down here in turn 11.
Yep, Marco Andretti now goes to P1. How about Marco in the 27 machine? Dixon is P2. Then Mikel Aloshin, Tony Kanaan, Elio Castroneves, Will Power. That's an interesting group at top timing and scoring, Davey.
Yeah, it is an interesting group, but I want to look at, I'm trying to compare times, and usually as the track gets rubbered in, it gets faster, but right now, they're 3/10 off of Ryan Hunter-Reay and Joseph Newgarden in the first group, and actually, we didn't really pay attention to this, but the first 3 guys, Hunter-Reay, Newgarden, and Alexander Rossi, all 107.0s, so that's how close the top 3 were. Right now, we have a 107, Kanaan, just a 107.1, so second group right now, actually a little bit slower than that first group.
Simon Pagenaud pops into the view of Nick Yeoman in turn 11.
He's chasing after Will Power, and Elio Castroneves is fallen way further behind. Power's going to duck onto pit lane. Pagenaud's going to stay out, Mark, as he roars down shoreline.
Jake, you can see it. It's that highlighter-colored car of Simon Pagenaud that's coming down that long main straightaway and into your view.
One of the great debates from a year ago. Is it the color of a highlighter or a tennis ball? Either way, it's the color of a fast car. Pagenaud takes that left-hander that is turn number 1, and he now works his way around the fountain. This, of course, the defending Verizon IndyCar Series champion, Simon Pagenaud, who was oh so consistent a year ago. Looks very, very good as he takes that right-hander, now works his way towards the middle of the racetrack, sweeps wide, and then tucks down to the bottom side as he works his way into the Tecate Bridge.
As old Yogi used to say, Davey, it's deja vu all over again. Look who's P1, Will Power.
And a 106.7, 3/10 quicker than Ryan Hunter-Reay, who was fastest in that first group, and another 106 was Scott Dixon. They both jumped into that 106 bracket. Figured they would over the weekend, but man, they plunged it and they're pretty good.
Nick, Elio Castroneves coming into your view. A few cars running behind him as the session draws to a close.
Elio takes a wide sweeping turn through turn number 10. He has a lot of work to do. He's got Sebastian Bourdais chasing after him, as well as Mikel Aloshin. All 3 of those cars heading to pit lane.
Looks like the 26 of Takuma Sato was one of the last ones to come into your view, Nick.
Yeah, but he's about 5 or 6 car lengths behind Marco Andretti. Sato, according to his LED display, is 11th quick, so he needed to pick up a lot on that last lap. But, Mark, things going silent here in turn number 11.
How thin is that margin of error, Davey? Marco Andretti just moments ago was P1. Now he's slid to 7th and just outside of the moving on to the next round.
Well, we wanted to talk about how difficult this second group was. How about this? Elio Castroneves, the last guy to make the final 6, I think. I think he's the final guy to cross, a 107.1. That would have put him 4th quickest in the first group, and he's 6th quickest in this one, and the last guy to make it in. So this group's definitely faster. Most importantly, though, Simon Pagenaud, 106.5, half a second quicker than Ryan Hunter-Reay in that first group.
So who moves on? Well, Simon Pagenaud, Will Power, Scott Dixon, Tony Kanaan, Sebastian Bourdais, and Elio Castroneves. Just missing out Marco Andretti, Carlos Munoz, Mikel Aloshin, Takuma Sato, and Max Chilton as preparations for the 43rd annual Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach continue here on the Advanced Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network.
The finish line, the victory lap, the trophy. I'm Mario Andretti, and I know there's nothing sweeter than winning an IndyCar race. And that feeling doesn't stop at the finish line. Because when you drive on Firestone tires, the official tire of the Verizon IndyCar Series, you'll realize that you don't need a track to drive like a champion.
Whatever you drive a Firestone.
When you first hear it, you move to the edge of your seat. Then it starts. You begin to feel your heart in your throat, and the speed causes an unfamiliar surge of adrenaline. The fastest drivers of the world, Castroneves, Andretti, Rahal, Hinchcliffe, are coming to Barber Motorsports Park April 21st through 23rd. This is the Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama, presented by America's First. And this is the Indy Experience. Purchase your tickets today at barberracingevents.com.
From the Firestone broadcast booth in Long Beach, this is the Verizon IndyCar Series.
So the round of 12 will consist of Ryan Hunter-Reay, Joseph Newgarden, Alexander Rossi, Graham Rahal, James Hinchcliffe, Charlie Kimball, Simon Pagenaud, Will Power, Scott Dixon, Tony Kanaan, Sebastian Bourdais, and Elio Castroneves. Probably no one happier in that group than Tony Kanaan with all of the issues that they had that limited him to 5 laps in that final practice session earlier today, Davey.
Really impressive, actually, and making it, that car's strong, obviously, and I think Chip made a good decision with the package that they had this year, but you look at this group, and it's Chevrolet first and second, so I'm liking it. I mean, I'm trying to keep everybody updated on the Chevy-Honda battle, and right now it's a pretty good one, and right now, we got, Newgarden, the three of the Penske cars, in that top 12 right now.
Yeah.
Actually, all of them. Elio also's in that, so you got all 4 Penske Chevrolets in that top 12.
Will Power, needless to say, already in heady company with his resume, but tied with Mario Andretti, Michael Andretti, and Gilles de Ferran for the most poles here with 3. He went back to back in 09, 10, and 11. But Davey, if he's able to get pole here, it would be the 46th in 171 starts.
Wow.
That's pretty impressive.
I didn't realize that is very impressive, isn't it?
I mean, and the numbers, wow. We talked about it earlier this weekend. 29 wins, as we said, he's looking for pole number 46, already has one this year. 55 top 3s, 77 top 5s. Now listen to this. Again, 171 starts, 111 top 10s in 171 starts.
So one of the most impressive things, we've known he's the real deal, all of us. There's nobody could dispute that how good this guy really is. But one of the most impressive things I've ever seen is last year, in the opening round in St. Petersburg, he had an inner ear infection. He goes out, he throws up before he gets in the race car. He's obviously a little bit dizzy or whatever, everything you get with inner ear infection. Gets in that darn race car, puts it on the pole for the race, gets out of it, has to go behind accepting the award for pole position. He has to go around the back of the podium and throw up again, and because he's sick. And he was so sick, and that they pulled him out of the race. They wouldn't let him race that weekend, but he could still put it on a pole.
Yeah, we need to check something here because initially Simon Pagenaud,
they just pulled it. He's out of the car.
He's out of the car now. Okay.
Yeah. He had the fast lap, but remember, he got on the brakes, and his teammate.
Okay. Well, we just heard from race control due to qualifying interference. He lost his fastest 2 laps. So the defending series champion, and Nick Yeoman, did you see that?
Yeah, that was down here in turn 11, and I'll almost guarantee you that was a foul on his teammate, Elio Castroneves, because as they came through turn number 11, Elio just about ran into the back of Simon. It was a great piece of driving by Elio Castroneves to not run into the back of Simon. It slowed Elio's pace down, and certainly Elio was lucky to get in as well. So, boy, what a tough break, though, for the defending winner of this race and our defending champion. Let's go to pit lane and check in with Dave first.
Here with Carlos Munoz, who we thought would start 16th tomorrow, is going to actually end up 14th because of the fact that Simon Pagenaud has been bumped out. Regardless, though, how close were you to advancing to the second round of qualifying?
Yeah, like that Simon, gets penalized. We just needed just a little bit, I think I had to go advance, in this last corner. I just lost the car, almost hit the wall, and I lose all 2 tenths there. That would be enough to get through, but this racing, I was pushing really hard the car, 100%, and that's what happens when you're pushing to 100% of the car. You are in the limit, right? Maybe we don't have enough to be in the Fast 6, that's for sure, but I think
for us, have been our weekend to be in the top 12 would have been really good. I think that was our goal, to be in the top 12. But for just a mistake, I couldn't. But it's a long race. Tomorrow we saw in IndyCar, everything can happen. So
It's a little different race course with the repaving. It's a quicker race course here, isn't it?
actually, the time is a little bit slower than last year, I think. Okay, that my part, my part. I don't know what time they did the first few guys before that, but
Well, we heard a lot about turn 8. It's quicker. The entry in the turn 8 is much quicker this year.
yeah, for sure it's quicker. Also because we have not the inside curves we had like 2 years ago. It's been quicker. The cars are getting quicker and quicker. The engines are getting better and better. The tires, Firestone tires, getting better and better. So it's like everything progressing, right? And also like turn 8. And the back straight is new, everything. But for us, that's not a problem. For us, it's just try to learn the aero kit. I pushed so hard in qualifying. That was it's a shame, I make that mistake. As a driver, so especially me, I push myself a lot, and I think we had there to be in top 6. It's racing.
You'll start 14th tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carlos Munoz. Back to Zach Veach.
Guys, Simon Pagano here. Tough qualifying session for you guys in the number 1 car. Recap with us what happened there from your point of view behind the wheel.
Yeah, I mean, I know exactly what happened. The thing is on the first lap on Reds, I was going, but Will was really slow, so I caught him, and I basically had to abort the lap. Like I said on the radio, Will's slow. I got to back up the lap. But all 3 Penske cars were so close. I was boxed in. If I start my second lap in Will's gearbox, it's not going to be a good lap because of the turbulences behind him. So essentially, it's a real shame. The Menard's car was phenomenal. I think we had a car for pole, but Will started backing up everybody, which I don't quite understand why it's the guy that is behind. That's the consequence of the whole problem. So it is what it is. We'll start from last. Hopefully. We can have the same fortune as what they did in St. Pete and repeat a sensational weekend.
Nowhere to go but up from there. Thanks, Simon. Appreciate it.
And he brings up a very good point, Davey. It's not as though that you can't win from last place. We've seen it happen a few times over the past couple of years.
It's definitely happened many times, and it happened the first race this year. And Simon has a super fast race car, as he said. So, it's just unfortunate. As Simon says, where do you go? I mean, how do you judge that? But
what's the team debrief going to sound like?
Well, and here's what I'm going to go back to, really. It's up as a racing driver. You're in that car, and when they send you out of that pits, you don't know where anybody else is on the race car or race course. They do. So my feeling is it's really up to that team to make sure that you guys are separated and you have clear racetrack, because they pulled him out. Obviously, he was in between 2 teammates. As he said, he's boxed in. What does he do? He has to slow down, or he's not going to get a good lap because he's right behind Will. And then, obviously, Elio is right behind him. So, it's a tough situation, but it's really, I feel, up to these teams, especially qualifying. Find your driver clear racetrack as possible. Now, it's not always going to happen. Mistakes are made, and you don't want to point any fingers, but I really think with limited cars on this racetrack, there's no reason you can't be spread out properly.
Well, we talked about that thin line between success and failure. The beneficiary of that penalty, Marco Andretti, now finds himself in the round of 12. That's a big boost for Marco.
Big boost, and we just seen a replay that I didn't see because Marco's been pretty fast all weekend, but he came off of turn 5 completely sideways. I mean, he's ready for the dirt. Grandpa Mario, he ran some good dirt races in his day, and right there, Marco shows that maybe he's ready for that as well.
So this 10-minute round of 12, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Joseph Newgarden, Alexander Rossi, Graham Rahal, James Hinchcliffe, Charlie Kimball, Marco Andretti, Will Power, Scott Dixon, Tony Kanaan, Sebastian Bourdais, and Elio Castro Neves. Those are the guys that are vying to move on to the Firestone Fast 6. So, qualifying session round 3 is underway.
So, interesting little fact here. If Simon was to keep his time, which is a 106, I think it was a 106.5, that's track record.
Yeah.
Well, right now, a 106.6 is held by Elio Castroneves, the track record. But that would have been, if Simon kept that lap, that not only did he lose his space or his time, that he lost the track record as well.
Jake, not too many taking a wait-and-see approach. You've got a lot of cars heading your way.
Everybody came out at once. And, Davey, I had a question for you in terms of, we won't maybe see it in this session, but One thing I noticed just below me here in that left-hander that is turn number 6 when they go back onto Pine Avenue. These streets, of course, you don't really see to the naked eye, but they are crowned. And as a result of that, everybody keeps it so tight on that left-handed turn 6 down towards the bottom to stay kind of on that flat line. If for some reason you get hung out a little bit and all of a sudden have to get to the middle of the actual civilian street here, how much does it interrupt the balance of the race car? Because clearly everybody is trying to avoid doing exactly that.
Yeah, well, that there's the two most difficult turns on this race course is 5 and 6, right, that you're above, and that turn 6. As that road crowns, it's so hard to get back on the accelerator right there. So you need to turn in as late as possible, try to make the turn all at once, and really get a good straightaway off of turn 6, because that crown is so hard. You want to get wheel spin, and not only that, as you can see, it drops off. It goes downhill. It kind of has a rise, a crown the wrong way, and then dropping off hill. So that is, you're right, Jake. That is the really the most difficult, and then the next most difficult is the one before that corner, because it's off camber as well.
Just saw Sebastian Bourdais make his way through 9 and 10. We're watching the number 9 of Scott Dixon work his way around the course. Now all of a sudden we see cars start to attack Seaside Way, which is essentially the back straightaway here on the streets of Long Beach. Cars popping into your view. Is that the 12 of Will Power, Nick Gilman?
It is Will Power. Power hard on the brakes as he makes that right-hander of turn number 11. It's 12 cars, 11 turns, and 1.9 miles of racetrack for these guys to kind of sort their way out. Power jumps back onto the pit lane, as is Scott Dixon. Joseph Newgarden lights him up big time here in turn number 11. Majority of the field, though, Mark, that's making their way through turn number 11, including Tony Kanaan, Alexander Rossi. Here comes Charlie Kimball. All of those drivers, the only exception being Rossi, have ducked back onto pit lane.
Davey, what could they be going to pit road for? Maybe Reds?
Well, yeah. So some of these guys, though, I mean, there's kind of two theories here. You could put the Reds on right now and just go for it, right? And just you get there warmed up.
5.5 minutes.
Yeah,
left,
just get after it, and then there's other ones say, no, I want to go out with the blacks again to get another good feel of the track, make sure it hasn't changed, and then come and put those Reds on. So, and then if best case scenario, if you can throw those blacks on, you cut a really good lap that you're very confident that you're going to get in the Firestone Fast Six. You leave it, and then you save those Reds for the final Fast Six to try to get on the pole.
Well, yeah, and we've, over the course of races over the past couple of years, how many times have we heard drivers say there's not a lot of difference between the blacks and the red in terms of the grip?
And it really depends on what tires they bring to what race course it is, and sometimes there's not an advantage at all, so the guys could do that. We see Elio Castroneves, he went a 107.1 in the first round. Well, he's already at a 106.8, so he's already faster in round 2 than he was in round 1, so he picked up some nice time there.
Yep, we see the number 27 machine, United Fiber Data, Marco Andretti. We see Ryan Hunter-Reay pop onto pit road, and it looks like Marco will go in just behind him. Charlie Kimball trying to gap some space. Jake, he turns in front of you in turn 1.
Yep, just came off of pit road, did Charlie Kimball in that number 83 machine. We're just about an hour or so, probably more like an hour and 45 with Southern California traffic. From the hometown of Charlie Kimball, Camarillo, California, north of Los Angeles, we find ourselves in the south end as Kimball works his way around turn number 5. Now starts to get on his giddy up a little bit. Keep in mind, this is the first lap since he has come back out of the pits. Charlie Kimball under the Tecate Bridge.
So, right now, we see Elio Castroneves, Scott Dixon, Joseph Newgarden, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Alexander Rossi, and Will Power in the top 6. Davey, we expect that to change as we work through the last 4 minutes of this session.
Yeah, it's going to get changed around here. And I've been kind of watching Marco. Obviously he did not make this to time, but when Simon lost his, it put him in, as you said. We've seen him really loose in that first round, why he didn't make it. I just seen that again. It looks like he really has problem getting on the accelerator. So it seems like throttled down, that the back of that car just wants to not have the grip that he needs, and we'll see if he can make it in.
Dave, first an update.
Yeah, I was just talking about Marco Andretti. Just left pit road with sticker red, so it's all or nothing. And throw this stat at you right now. The last time Marco Andretti was in the Fast Six, 3 years ago, St. Pete in 2014. So we'll see if he can do it here this afternoon.
That's been a while. Not much activity coming at you in turn 1, but Jake, who's moving away from you through that 5-6 area?
Actually, just like last time by, it's Charlie Kimball that takes that left-handed turn number 6. You'll wait just a little bit. His fellow Californian Alexander Rossi does just the same. Then they come into my view. It is so interesting to watch when they pop out of turn number 5 because that sun dances off the front of the cars. Then they come into view and the colors start to accentuate. Marco Andretti, Tony Kanaan. Tony Kanaan actually got off the throttle just a little bit that time by through turn number 6. Will Power behind him.
Yep, we see Marco Andretti make that right-handed turn onto Seaside Way. He climbs on the binders and works towards turn number 9. Light blue and white, the colors in front of Nick Yeoman now.
Yeah, and all these drivers had just left pit lane moments ago, completed their outlaps, and now we'll see the first flyers on the alternate reds. Marco Andretti clear of turn number 11. Here comes Tony Kanaan as well, Mark, back onto Seaside Drive.
Alexander Rossi moves past Jake Query in the 98.
Alexander Rossi, and then again, like I mentioned, he's got Kimball in view with him. As a matter of fact, Rossi working his way around the fountain. Castro Neves, the fastest in this session, is going to lead this trio. He's got Kimball behind him. Then you wait, and Alexander Rossi, who has given himself breathing room, works his way into turn number 6, sitting right now in 6th in this session.
So Elio Castro Neves, Scott Dixon, Joseph Newgarden, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Charlie Kimball, and as we say that, it starts to turn over again.
Wow.
Graham Rahal works his way into the top 6, Davey.
Graham Rahal, also James Hinchcliffe in that 4th position. Ryan Hunter-Reay in 5th, and Joseph Newgarden falls from 2nd to 6th in just that one lap.
Ryan Hunter-Reay comes into the view of Jake Query in turn 1.
Is that familiar, oh so familiar, yellow, as you call it, Mark, canary yellow for Ryan Hunter-Reay. DHL, the sponsorship. Again, somebody with a vast history here in Long Beach. You could make the argument Ryan Hunter-Reay is permanently in the Verizon IndyCar Series because of his win here at Long Beach that seemed to settle out. He'd become a full-time driver for Michael Andretti. Ryan Hunter-Reay out of turn number 5 starts to sweep really to the outside of turn number 6. Then, as Davey said, tucks it in tight. Elio Castroneves just behind him.
Davey, you're watching Alexander Rossi. He's on a record-setting run.
Yeah, track record right now for Alexander. Well, now it just gets broke by Scott Dixon. And does it get broke a little? No, a lot. The track record is 106.629 by Elio Castroneves. Scott Dixon just 106.229, 0.3 of a second quicker.
Speaking of Elio Castroneves, we watch him work his way around the course. Speaking of Alexander Rossi, he clears turn number 9. That Napa car comes back into the view of Nick Yeoman.
Yeah, Shoreline Drive is getting awful busy. Here comes Alexander Rossi, currently 3rd. He jumps on the accelerator out of that apex of turn number 11 and back onto the front straightaway here at Long Beach.
Jake, I believe that's Elio just passing you in turn 1 heading toward the fountain.
Castroneves just went past. This will be the last time by for everybody. We'll call them as they come out of turn number 5. Rossi goes into turn number 1. James Hinchcliffe works turn number 6. Then behind him as the checkered comes out, Graham Rahal. These laps will count, of course. Ryan Hunter-Reay is just behind him. Then you wait, and it's Elio Castroneves, and then finally Charlie Kimball.
Nick Yeoman, let's send it over to you in turn 11 so you can see cars and call them off as they come your way.
Yeah, Will Power and Sebastian Bourdais just completed their runs. Joseph Newgarden's got a little work to do. He exits turn 11. Scott Dixon through 11. Here comes James Hinchcliffe and Graham Rahal. Just a couple cars left on the racetrack. Here comes Ryan Hunter-Reay. He tugs that steering wheel to the right in that bright yellow DHL machine. He looks like he may be safe for the time being. Elio Castroneves and Charlie Kimball. Now they'll roar out of turn number 11 as qualifying here in round number 2 wraps up, Mark.
So, zeros on the clock, and Davey, Scott Dixon, who was fast after the 3rd session, is back to P1. Alexander Rossi is P2. A great run for Graham Rahal. He's 3rd quick. James Hinchcliffe, 4th quick. Elio Castroneves, 5th quick. Ryan Hunter-Reay is 6th quick. Who does not move on? Charlie Kimball, Joseph Newgarden, Marco Andretti, Tony Kanaan, Sebastian Bourdais. Will could blame me. I guess we jinxed him a little bit, Davey, talking about his qualifying prowess.
How about that? Here's the craziest thing. The top 10 guys, which Marco Andretti's in 10th, all broke. Oh, I'll take that back. The top 11 guys, Tony Kanaan's 11th quick. He also broke the track record. So 11 guys breaking the track record. Scott Dixon now owns that at a 106.229.
A couple of guys, nice to see him in the Firestone Fast 6. Alexander Rossi, Graham Rahal, James Hinchcliffe in particular. Ryan Hunter-Reay, too. Ryan, I think, was a little frustrated with his teammate, Takuma Sato. Late race at St. Petersburg, but I think he has to be happy with the pace that he started the season with overall.
Yeah, no, I think he's doing good. He's getting confidence. He's getting comfortable. And what a great qualifying run. Almost, he by the way, let me tell you how close it is. Well, it shows them as the same time. Look at the fastest time for the guys. That may
They'll go
be
a little farther. They'll go a little farther in the tiebreak.
Yeah, that's right. There we go. Yeah, it's on the other screen there. But man, almost identical times for those two guys. Unbelievable.
2285, 2288.
Isn't that unbelievable?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's for
tight.
the fastest and the track record. But Dixon, so far, we still have one more round. By the way, this
Right.
fast six are going to go out. Now, saying all that, I'm back to the keeping track for the Honda Chevy. Right now, we have one Chevy and 5 Hondas in the top 6.
And we talked about it before, the frustration and aggravation of the guys that don't move on. Not an ideal scenario. You want to be in the Firestone Fast Six. You want pole and all the spoils that go along with it, and you want a good starting position. But let's face it, 7 through 12 is a workable starting position.
Oh, without a doubt. These guys are all contenders, but that's how tight these times are. I'm just blown away how difficult it is and how close these margins are. And, Sebastian Bourdais is in 12th. He won the first race. He started dead last in that first race as well, so don't count any of these guys out.
How about the job that Alexander Rossi has done today in qualifying? He's been consistently around the top 10 all weekend.
No, I mean, that Andretti team is very, very, very strong, and they all can get it done. So it's exciting to watch that program develop and get better and better.
Zach Veach, you've caught up with Marco Andretti.
Marco Andretti here. Andretti's been fairly quick, this year. A bunch of improvement over last year. You've been very fast through testing. Hondas seem to have an edge. Take us through the start of the season, your qualifying run here, Marco. I know it was kind of intense before trying to get into this group and almost made it in for the Fast Six.
Yeah, we lucked out, transferring because I had a huge moment. I don't know if they showed it on TV, but we were lucky to even come back not on the hook. So lucky to transfer. And then we missed it by half a tenth. So, to qualify 10th and to miss Q3 by half a tenth, it shows you the IndyCar racing. It shows you what it's all about. It's super tight.
Great. Well, thanks, man. Best of luck tomorrow. Down to day first, guys.
I'm glad I'm with Charlie Kimball because he can do the math quicker than I can. 8 thousandths of a second separated you from 7th to being in the Firestone Fast Six.
Yeah, it's disappointing when you work out what that is as far as starting position and tenths and hundredths and thousandths around here. But that's one of the great things about the Verizon IndyCar Series is it's just so competitive. I think this morning all 21 of us were covered by a second. This afternoon, the track definitely gripped up in that second session. I was sitting in the car, having gone in round 1. We didn't know where the track was going to be after the IMSA race. And, we went out. The car was pretty decent. We managed to sneak through into the top 12. And then to come away with 7th after the day we had yesterday, I'm happy with that. But, as a racing driver, you're never happy unless you're on pole.
I was going to say that is a big jump from where you guys were yesterday, though.
Yeah, Dario always says it's all about the recovery, and I think today we took a big step forward. And a lot of credit to Honda. I think there were all 6. There's one
Chevrolet in the top 6.
One Chevy. So there's 6 out of the top 7 that are Honda powered. So that's really good. And the 83 crew, they worked so hard last night, looking at data, figuring out what was going on with the car, and making it better. So I'm just fortunate to work with such a great group of guys. We got a really good car for tomorrow, I think, consistency-wise. We'll make some changes overnight, follow maybe what the 9 car does, because they seem to be pretty quick still.
A decent amount of time now for you on the Reds. Any different?
It is different. The way the car reacts to bumps is different. The way the car reacts as you roll off the brakes, definitely it changes how the stability on the entry of the corner, and that was something we were chasing a lot last night, and we found that, made that better, and then you put the Reds on and you're that much better again.
Good luck tomorrow. We'll be watching.
Thanks, Dave.
Charlie Kimball. He will roll off 7th in the Toyota Long Beach Grand Prix here at Long Beach.
Oh, the guy sitting next to me, our driver analyst, wears a few hats over the course of a weekend here in a Verizon IndyCar Series weekend. Been at it for a number of years now, driving the 2-seater and taking dignitaries and special guests and fans and whatnot as part of the Indy racing experience. A pretty cool day today, though. Tell the folks about the passenger you had a chance to take around the streets of Long Beach.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a surprise, but my son jumped in at the last second and to go for a ride, and I've never been able to give him a ride before, and so it was exciting. And he's actually racing this weekend, and Robbie Gordon's SST Super Truck Series. So he broke a transmission right off yesterday in qualifying, so he didn't have a lot of laps, so he thought he'd jump in just to kind of feel what the line is. And he did give a little comment. He says, "Yeah, I guess you still kind of got it a little bit." So that was,
I guess, nice of him to pay you that compliment.
Yeah, so it was fun to give him a ride.
I remember a couple of years ago. This is vastly different circumstances, but I played my son one-on-one in basketball, and I was able to beat him. And I said, "I'll never play you again."
Yeah, right. Softball, you're ahead, right?
That's it. That's right. I'll never get that opportunity again. Let's talk about that Stadium Truck Series. You folks that watch them run, a lot of fans that love it. It's growing in popularity, and there's some IndyCar Series flavor in that paddock.
Well, how about that? I was going to bring that up. You got P.J. Jones. You got Arie Luyendyk Jr. You got Matty Brabham, who deserves to be in an IndyCar right now. You got Robbie Gordon, who it's his series as a former IndyCar driver. And then there's so many guys that are absolutely true racers in there. You got Eric Davis, who's been in sports cars and does a lot of stuff. You got Sheldon Creed, who's working his way on the ARCA side right now and doing some racing over there. And even though it's fun, it's a jumping, flying, beating up into each other, but it's a great time. And, my son, fortunately, he's going to try it for his second time here at Long Beach. So it's exciting.
Let's go back to pit road, Dave first.
Yeah, Joseph Newgarden will roll off 8th tomorrow. Happy, disappointed? What are your feelings right now?
Well, I think there was more in the car. I think the car was capable of getting in the top 6 there, so I'm disappointed in that. I don't think I nailed it as well as I could have. There was some areas I did better than the first round, and there's a couple corners I did worse. So, if I got to put those things together, I think we had the car to get into the Fast 6. Not sure how much we would have had for pole, but I think you get in the top 6, you give yourself a chance. But 8th, we're gonna have to settle for that today and try and make some of it tomorrow in the race, and I think we can. I'm pretty happy about the Hum car. I think we've gotten on the same page today. It was tougher on Friday, but being here Saturday, I feel more confident in what we can do.
For fans that are listening to us, they think, okay, you guys go back to Long Beach every year. It's the same track. You guys ought to figure that. You guys, you come back here. There's new pavement. There are a lot of variables here this year, aren't there?
It changes every year. There's different parts on the car. You got to learn how to drive the new parts. You look at like you said, you look at the track. Generally, it changes a little bit every year. There's new pavement and 9-10, so that's a new challenge. A couple new bumps that weren't here in the years past. And then, from us on the setup side, I'm learning how the setup works, on this Penske car, and I think we're getting there. I think I'm starting to figure it out. But track to track, you gotta go through the process of understanding how it works and try and get better with it.
This is only your second race weekend with the new team, so
exactly, it's the second race weekend. So give us a little bit of time. I think we're going to get there.
No doubt about it. Good luck tomorrow.
Thanks, man.
Yep. Joseph Newgarden, he'll roll off tomorrow here in Long Beach.
Davey, sometimes the way someone answers a question tells you all you need to know about him. I wasn't surprised by this answer. I checked in the same time that Joseph did a couple of days ago at the hotel, and I remember the first time I met him in the media center at Barber Motorsports Park when he was running Indy Lights, and so I said to him, I'll ask you this one time. I said, do you ever, almost just pinch yourself a little bit and say, wow, and he said, honestly, he said, I've been doing that for the past 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, right. Just to have the opportunity.
He said, yeah, obviously, he said, this is an opportunity of a lifetime, but he said, quite frankly, for the last few years, I felt as though I'm one of the luckiest guys on the face of the earth. And that answer didn't surprise me. Yeah. That tells you all you need to know about.
Yeah, well, he's appreciative, and he knows that there's so many good racing drivers out there that don't get the opportunity. And he was on that edge, right? All these guys are when they first come in until you really get settled, and it's you have to perform, you have to do well because there's the guy right behind you trying to get in, and we know he was with Sarah, he was with Ed, and there was some financially situation with those teams, great teams, but trying to find the sponsorship to really go do all the testing and do it proper. And year to year, it was like, hey, are we going to get back to the grid? Are we going to make it? Meanwhile, Joseph doesn't know if he has a ride yet or not, but being with so doing that and winning races and being successful and growing those teams as well. I mean, he made those winning teams, and now having the opportunity with Penske is chance of a lifetime.
Let's go back to pit road. Check in with Dave first.
Yeah, we're not used to seeing Will Power out of the Firestone Fast 6. Where out on the race course would you like to make up a little time? We think, Will.
What was that?
Somebody just drove by. Where out there on the race course did you maybe give up a little speed, a little time?
I just made a mistake at the very last corner, and the car spun up and ruined my first lap and last lap. because then you get a bad run on the straight. So it was really tight, and I think all we needed was like less than a tenth to get through, but that's IndyCar. It's tight right now.
It's crazy, isn't it? I mean, just one little bobble, and all of a sudden it's going to drop you at least several spots here.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, it's tough. As you can see in practice, I mean, the whole field's covered by a second.
Well, good luck tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Will Power, he knows how to get around this Long Beach race course. He'll roll off ninth.
Yeah, he will start ninth for sure, Dave, first. And the final session is underway already. The clock rolling down to 3.5. And Davey, an early taker, Elio Castroneves in that 3 machine.
Wow, coming through turn 8 there, you got a little close to that wall, slid around there a little bit. But, one thing to touch on that Will said is, the entire field was within 1 second. You got to remember they're turning 1 minute, 6-second laps, 1 minute, 7-second laps. You go to a short oval, anywhere in America, a half mile, go to Kokomo or go to some of these pavement short tracks, go to Toledo, Ohio, or any of these tracks, and see when you're turning 12, 13, 14-second laps, try to get that whole field within 1 second, right? Yeah. Very difficult. So that does tell you they're over a minute on these laps and still within 1 second. It's just remarkable.
And Will knows the way that they map out their strategy in terms of that session. I mean, when you go out on that flyer, that's it. And you heard him say first lap and the last lap, he had a mistake on both. And when that happens, you just have to hope for the best.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what coming from all different kinds of racing. It is impressive on how close these cars are. And watching Elio, man, he is hanging that thing out. I've seen he about got the wall a little bit in turn 8, makes it to there nice this time, but coming off of turn 5 or turn 6, a little wiggly coming off there.
Yeah, as we mentioned, Zach Veach, of course, he joined us for session number 2, and he talked about how forgiving. Some racetracks, I asked him, the curbing, you got to stay off of it, and that's by design. But by and large, the curbing here pretty forgiving, almost part of the racetrack.
Yeah, and I think Munoz mentioned it. The curbing, going into 8 right now is really not there anymore. You can go right down to the wall, and then in turn 9, the curbing's a little different, and they've taken some curbing out, which actually makes it better racing because you hit that curbing, man, it can shoot you across the racetrack so fast, and it's made it a little bit faster. It's a little bit easier to drive, a little bit more forgiving, but I think it was the right thing to do.
3 drivers clearing the timing and scoring loop so far: Elio Castroneves, Ryan Hunter-Reay, and Scott Dixon. And of course, that red is flashing. The other guys in this session, well, let's give you all 6, in fact: Scott Dixon, Alexander Rossi, Graham Rahal, James Hinchcliffe, Elio Castroneves, and Ryan Hunter-Reay. Davey, as we progress through this day, you look around this course because of where it's located, some shadows start to creep in, but I don't see those shadows really as anything that's going to affect this racetrack in any way, shape, or form.
No, those shadows are close enough to the wall. It's not going to affect anything. Temperature's really staying the same, and that's track temp and ambient temp are pretty steady right now. Even Dave First was talking about the wind. Wind does affect you at a lot of places, but not so much at these places. Unless it's a straight headwind going down this long straightaway or something, it may slow you down a little bit or push you down into turn 1. But, you're kind of in a little cave down in here. It's not like an oval to where the winds really affect the balance of your car that bad.
With all of the forms of racing here this weekend, by the time we get to tomorrow afternoon, is this track going to be plenty dirty? I mean, I know they'll get sweepers out probably before the IndyCar Series gets out there, but boy, over the course of the race, I would imagine this thing dirties up quite a bit.
It does, and when you say dirties up, that's a lot of rubber laid down and marbles created from the rubber that's on the racetrack that you definitely don't want to get into those because there's no grip whatsoever, as we call them, the marbles, and they'll clean that up very nicely. One thing, there's so much rubber down on this racetrack, especially in the tighter corners down in 7, 8, or more like 9, 10, 11 in that area. It really gets rubber down. That rubber stays there year round. It never really goes away, and so it's pretty amazing on how the Ryan Hunter-Reay coming off a little bit loose off that last corner as well. But this rubber stays down, and it's impressive. And look at Elio Castroneves already out of his car. Yeah. He laid that lap down at a 106.225. That may get it done. Looks like it's going to.
Yeah,
they're still out there running. He's happy with it, and he's out helmet off talking to Roger.
Yeah, and not a hair out of place. That's amazing. That's almost one of the most amazing things about Elio. Scott Dixon clears that timing and scoring loop. It looks like that he's not going to be able to get it. We're waiting on Alexander Rossi to clear the checker flag. I think Rossi is the last guy out there. He's making his way along Seaside Way now, working his way through turn number 8. Now he'll hit Seaside Way, that long back straightaway. And Elio Castroneves, he's doing a little fist pumping, Davey. He's a little happy about that.
He's got a smile on his face right now. He's talking to Roger, making jokes, and just come on. They're trying to just see if he can hold off the last guy, which is Alexander Rossi. As he comes across the line, we'll see what he does. Gets really loose and does not. So it's Elio Castroneves on the pole of that Chevrolet. Look at him. It's like his first pole, but it's not.
Well, it's his 4th pole here, and it'll be his 5th top 5 start, his 10th top 10 start, and, of course, he's a former winner here. So they're high-fiving, and I tell you, that enthusiasm, it's just infectious, and, he's that happy every time he hits pole.
Yeah, he's excited. He loves his sport. He loves success. The lone Chevy in the top 6 finds himself on the pole.
So Elio Castroneves will start P1. Starting on the outside of row number 1. Pretty good qualifying effort, I would say, for Scott Dixon. Ryan Hunter-Reay and James Hinchcliffe, Davey, will start in row number 2, so a good qualifying
good run
effort
for James,
Lynch,
yeah.
for Hinch, rather, and then Alexander Rossi and Graham Rahal complete the top 6. That's a pretty interesting top 6.
You know, Alexander Rossi is going to be disappointed but happy at the same time. I mean, he almost has himself a lap record, didn't quite get that. Knows that he had a car that he could be on the pole with, but just didn't quite pull it off, and then ends up 5th. So a great run for Alexander. But probably, when you talk to him, he's a racing driver. He wants that track record. He wants to be on the pole, and so probably a little disappointed, but still a great run.
So Zach Veach and Dave First will talk to a couple of those drivers, including our pole sitter, Elio Castroneves. We mentioned row number 1 will be Elio and Scott Dixon, Ryan Hunter-Reay and James Hinchcliffe in row 2. Row 3 will be Alexander Rossi and Graham Rahal. Row number 4, Charlie Kimball, Joseph Newgarden. And row 5, Will Power and Marco Andretti. Row number 6, Tony Kanaan and Sebastian Bourdais. In row number 7, Ed Jones and Carlos Munoz. In row number 8, J.R. Hildebrand and Mikel Aloshin. Connor Daly and Takuma Sato in row number 9. In row 10, Spencer Pigot and Max Chilton. Rolling off 21st will be Simon Pagano, after the penalty knocked him out of qualifying earlier. A busy day tomorrow. At 9 a.m., we'll have the final warm-up session here on IndyCar.com, and then, of course, we'll go racing tomorrow, 1 p.m. Local time, 4 p.m. Eastern, as we get ready for the 43rd time the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. And, Davey, we've heard drivers say it all throughout the course of the weekend, even some of the young ones. After the Indianapolis 500, this is probably number 2 on their wish list because of its history. A very happy Elio Castroneves standing by with Dave First.
Yeah, Tim Sidrick comes over. A couple of high fives for Elio Castroneves. Been a while since he started from pole. See if we can get a word. How about that, Mr. Long Beach?
That's what I'm talking
4
about.
poles here. Huh?
I know, 3 in a row.
Yeah.
Come on, mention that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, 3 in a row.
Here we go. Now, let me tell you, man. AAA machine and Chevy was awesome. We were testing a lot of things, and obviously Roger made some great calls. John Doogie as well, man. And myself, to be honest, I was with my teammates, by the way, and we're learning all the time, and man, we laid down a very good one. It was awesome.
Well, the Hondas, man, they loaded up for bear against you.
I know. It's okay. Bring it on. I'm ready, but it's all about putting ourselves in a good situation. And right now, this P1, it feels so good.
And now tomorrow, huh?
Well, let's celebrate now, man. Come on.
I'm sorry. What am I doing? I'm sorry.
Tonight, I'm thinking about tomorrow. But right now, we're going to enjoy this great pole position. Watch out.
Enjoy it. Yep. We'll get the photo op underway here. Elio Castroneves starting from pole once again here in the streets of Long Beach.
So for the second time, Roger Penske has won 3 poles in a row. As we mentioned to lead off the show, Will Power pulled off that feat, winning 3 in a row from 09 to 11. And then Elio Castroneves reminding Dave First that this is his
right. He knows his
stats.
Don't forget that, right?
yeah. And, he finished 6th at St. Petersburg. I think he would have liked a little better effort than that. But let's face it, the quest for that championship continues. But, again, he's one of those guys that just week in and week out, Davey, along with the rest of that Penske stable, he's always a favorite.
Yeah, without a doubt. And how he doesn't have multiple championships is beyond us all, right? I mean, it's just you have to put it all together. But, how can you not love his, excitement and enthusiasm when victory comes, no matter at what level? Whether he's fastest in practice, he gets out, gives his guys all high fives, and he's so happy. And it's just practice. Doesn't pay anything, doesn't count. Poles are much more important, and he pulls off his 3rd in a row. And, he's the same when he wins a race. He's our fence climber, right?
But Davey, we talked about the history and tradition of what it means to these drivers. Well, I'll tell you, you go back to 1984, the first year the kart raced here. It wasn't until 1992 that someone won it other than an Unser or an Andretti. They dominated in the early stages of this race. Yeah. And, some of the great names have won here over the years. I mean, you stop and think about, names like Zanardi and Vassar. And as we said, Al Jr. owned this. He probably got mail here. He won it so many times.
Yeah, right. He had a thing for this, and then you got to go way back at the Formula One days and some of those champions that have won it. And Paul Tracy had a little run here for a while, winning some races. And it's fun watching these guys, and then a lot of first wins and only wins like Takuma Sato. What a place to win at for him. And it's always exciting.
Conway's another
Mike Conway, exactly. Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
And it's interesting, as I said, the thing that's so unique about this is even though it's a street course, it's not a purpose-built course like a Watkins Glen or an Indy, but yet you feel the history when you walk in here.
You sure do. And just the people and the excitement, and we're watching bands go on right now, and every night there's a party here. It goes on every single night, and walking distance to everything. It's just it's such a great atmosphere. And another thing I have to say about this, being a street course, it's so unique because you have that long front straightaway that's curved. Most of the time streets are absolutely straight, like Toronto and some of the other street courses we go to. But it's awesome. It's great.
Let's go to Zach Veach. Zach?
Let's go to Dave real quick. I believe he has Alex.
Opportunity to catch up with the still reigning Indy 500 champion, Alexander Rossi, who will roll off fifth. I tell you what, this is becoming a big weekend for Andretti Autosport, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's nice that we came back to the track that's historically been so strong for them, and after last year being probably our worst weekend, to come back and get 2 cars in the Fast 6 and get 3 cars in the top 12, it's really a strong turnaround for them.
Are you disappointed you didn't win pole? You guys are that good, I think, this weekend.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're always disappointed when you're not, but for me, it's my first top 6 appearance. The Napa Auto Parts car has been good all weekend, like you said, and I think we never exploited our potential in practice, so it's nice to put it all together, mostly together for qualifying, and yeah, I think we missed probably a couple of spots there, but I don't think we had the car for pole with the tire situation.
Nice to compete, huh? It's fun.
It's really nice to compete. Smile on my face today, and I look forward to rolling off tomorrow and actually fighting for a podium.
We'll be watching tomorrow. Good luck.
Thank you.
Back to Zach Veach.
Hey, guys, I'm standing here with James Hinchcliffe. James, you've been fast all weekend, so take us through your qualifying run here. You'll be starting 4th tomorrow. Not a bad place. You had a little trouble at the end of practice today, so talk a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, rebounding from a gearbox issue in practice, not getting a final run on tires there, but huge credit to the Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports guys. We made it into the Fast 6 second time in a row. And outside of row 2, not bad. I'm a little mad at myself. In Q3, we weren't quite sure what to expect. Hadn't really run red tires for a second run to know where the balance was going to go, where the grip was going to be. And I was actually on a pretty good lap, made a little bit of a mistake out of turn 5, so that might have cost us a position or 2. But, at the end of the day, you need to be up in the top 6, I think, to have a shot at winning this race. My guys are some of the best in pit lane. If we can make some moves on track, make some moves in pit lane, hopefully we can find ourselves up front.
Yep, sounds great. Best of luck tomorrow. Thanks, James. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks so much.
All right, Zach Veach, Dave First, good job with all the stuff on pit road. Again, don't forget tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., final warm-up, and then flag-to-flag coverage of the race beginning at 1 p.m. Pacific. That's 4 p.m. Eastern. The director of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Radio Network is Wally Levitt. On-site production and engineering by Rick Evans. Producing things at our master control studio in Indianapolis is Chris Pollock. Out on the course today, Jake Query and Nick Yeoman. In the pits, you heard Zach Veach and Dave First. For Davey Hamilton, our driver analyst, I'm Mark James. So long for now from the streets of Long Beach.
The Verizon IndyCar Series on IndyCar Radio.
It looks as though Jim Rathman from Miami, Florida, if he can hold out for the rest of this lap. Let's pick him up, boys, in the back stretch. Bernie Herman, you should be seeing him about now.
We're waiting for the quiet, unassuming Jim Rathman. Again, ball special. And here he comes now on car number 4. Bias.